we're making a film about Port's Football Club and Netball Club. So I filmed the netball as well today. I got a bit of the A grade and I got a bit of the senior colts or whatever you call them in netball. Yeah, anyway, so I got probably 2 or 3 different netball teams today. And
yeah, Rihanna played A grade today.
ah, how'd they go? No, really?
But they played very hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard.
Well, they're up against it with those, you know, Kimber's obviously a league rep side, actually, if you look at it.
Well, it is.
Yeah. Because, of course, in 1988, Kimber League was playing in Mortlock Shield. And the next year, their Mortlock Shield team was playing against Ports.
And we've got a very small district, you know, very small. Cal,
I mean, back in the day, of course, Waterkey Rock was its own association.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, Kimber was an association with 4 teams, and they were quite strong. And now
would have had much trouble getting him to talk a bit. As Gavin's son used to say, you go on that Peter's pointing to us, because over there, that's where such and such lives with his 4 kids, and that farm over there was bought by such and such in 1939.
It's got a tremendous memory.
Yeah, well, what can you tell me about Peter Wren? You obviously played footy with him.
Yeah, I did actually play footy with Peter. He, I never saw him in his younger years, but I was only a kid when I first started playing A-grade footy with Peter, and that would have been in 1968, and we lost the grand final. Peter was playing. But I was only a young fella, probably 15, 16. And
yeah, Barry Hartwig's he's a great footballer in his younger days. Yeah, just fantastic. You might not know it now, but yeah, he's a bit of a star, and his lads play well, and young Ashton, the grandson, he's going to be something special.
I always thought, I looked up to Peter, and if he wasn't playing, I thought, we've got no hope. You know? So sort of a footballer. And he wasn't the greatest kick, but he was a tremendous team man, in my opinion anyway. But
we won the Mortlock Shield in '63, County Jervois. We had Port Neill with us that year, and of course that made a difference, because Port Neill had some very good players.
Yes.
And we won the Mortlock Shield and thought we were pretty bloody good. We went up to Kimber and got beaten.
Oh, really?
So the next year, we had to play Kimber again at Cleve, and I made damn sure there wasn't going to be one of those that let them go. We beat them next time.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good players out there. Of course, Eastern Eyre Peninsula, they won 2 Mortlock Shields.
Yeah.
And then disbanded not long after.
Well, yeah, that association was the reason they failed is because it was only virtually 2 towns and the land between them. And they won 2 Mortlock Shields, and that was it. And some of those players that they had then were still playing in Port Neill Club when they joined our league. Yeah. Ron and Lawrence Freeman were champions. Chuck Henley was playing halfback for the association in Eastern Eyre and County Jervois when he came up to us. Bradley Davey, Don Davey and Robert Davey. I think Bob gave it away. He stopped playing when they come up to join our association, but his younger brother, Don, played on. And he had another younger brother, Ross, that went down to play for Eyre United because he had a girlfriend down there. But when he married and she moved up to the farm at Port Neill, he joined and played for Port Neill for a while. That's Ross Davey. We've still got a Davey playing for our amalgamated club. It's Bob's grandson.
There you go.
Tom.
Here we go. Bishop wins it
Big,
down.
strong
Big
hit by
tap.
Bishop.
Big tap, and
Dommy Davey, run onto it. Now this will be a good start if he kicks this.
Sid
Oh, that's
Masters,
a
a bit
big
of
kick.
shepherding on the line.
That's a good
She's
goal.
going through. It's a good start for Port.
That is a great goal. Probably 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, that's big tap from Bishop and Davey. Like we were saying, the 2 standouts for Ports today. And
Dan Wolford had a chance to sort of hold it, but Tom took it away from him and kicked a beautiful goal.
He was a star that day. Had the ball on a string.
Tom.
Yeah.
That must be the scoring end down there.
I think it is. It's a couple of goal breeze. So
Bit of a breeze.
Is there who else in that team has those sort of connections going?
Oh, Ashley Masters,
Oh, yes.
because that's the Wharminda.
Puts it forward, Bishop.
Bishop.
He's playing a kick beyond the play in defence. Gets around young Dale easily to mull it. It's a good mark. He's got time, looks up, going against the winds, drives it forward, looking for Sid's brother. Sid's out there. He's picked it up, got a big job, Tom.
Oh, he's had a go
Piggott's
from
back.
there. Wayne Piggott. Right back on that line.
Ashley's Gavin's son, and Gavin was a champion playing for Port Neill too. He played halfback for the association. Gavin did, and played halfback for Port Neill. Champion fella too.
There you go.
Wow.
Big reps.
Take.
What a great man.
Yeah, happy with
good
that.
judge.
What else we got?
And then Ashley Masters is the club president.
A lot of leaders, presidents, secretaries of clubs and things, as well as on-field performers as far as football or netball, whatever goes. A lot of the people here have actually gone on to be, represent their area really well, or be really good presidents or secretaries or leaders in whatever organisations.
Who were some of those people?
Well, you'll see some masters and some primes, and then there's people sort of related to those that go back through Millards. Like there's a lot of people that take spots up in different organisations around the community.
There's good people around here.
Yep, there is.
You sort of get brought up with your parents doing those jobs, and then it's pretty natural to fall into line, I suppose.
But it's like Jeff and Kath Prime, Adrian, Chuck Henley used to be here. There's John Chilman. There's a lot of blokes that were a real core, and originally from pretty much all from Wharminda that moved into here.
Yeah. I felt we were making all the decisions for the club, between us, and so I gave up.
President, secretary, treasurer, all from Wharminda.
Yeah, they were.
As a president, how'd that come about?
We're missing a group in our club. I think we're missing that. There's not many 40-year-olds around our club at the moment, is there?
Yeah, most
40 to sort of 50. There's a little bit of a gap there, and I took over from a bloke that was only probably 3 years older than me, 3 or 4 years older than me. He did it for 3 years, and this is my 3rd year now. But
well, Dad was actually president when they closed, but you'll see through here there's a lot of Masters, Frasers, names that are common with the district, Waltons.
Yep.
So back through history they were always around the mark here.
As is on the road out there too.
Yep.
And your grandfather, he played for Wharminda too?
No. My dad actually played for Port Neill, then bought a farm at Wharminda, and then came out and played at Wharminda.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Well, I remember when Peter's dad was playing halfback for Wharminda, because that's where Jeff played, was halfback.
Oh yes. Tell me about him as a halfback.
Oh, he was steady. He wasn't really tall enough, but Peter was a lot bigger guy, and he played forward. He was a good forward. And his younger brother was even better.
Yeah, I was at Tasman's when Chris was at Tasman, so I know Chris a bit. Oh, that's interesting. So there was Kinnard Football Club involved as well.
Yeah, well, some of those names would have come from there. Kinnard.
So they originally played in something called the Carrow Association.
Did they?
Which started about 1920. So they disappeared, well they sort of merged into Wharminda?
I actually don't know, but I'm guessing by some of the names in here, yes they did.
Yeah. So obviously they were around before that then?
That Bayek's blue and gold.
Yeah. And they
the Wharminda was red and white. Kinnard was blue and gold, and they took the colours because Club Association already had a red and white.
Gotcha. And in fact, Waybacks were minor premiers in 1934. When did you start playing?
1945 when I was 21.
Yeah, there you go. And how were they travelling then?
I was playing in Port Neill then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in Port Neill, really.
Oh, okay. So you started with Port Neill, yeah?
With that movie, I started playing in Port Neill. When I married in 1957, we went to Wharminda.
Right.
I can hold these up if you need to. Or
No, I've already got a shot of them. So, is your father in one of these photos?
he was captain coach at the 1959 team.
Yep.
Yep.
So he could play a bit.
I never saw him play, but the reports were he was a good, steady halfback, centre halfback.
Really? So not all forwards?
No. I played all my junior football back.
Yeah, really?
Chris started off in the back pocket.
Is that right? How long do you stay in the back pocket?
A lot of Colt. He could always kick a long way.
Yeah, lovely kick on.
So he got kicking out duties a fair bit.
Yeah, he would have done. How old were you when you started playing?
Me, I'm actually not sure.
He was born in 58, so he must have been 68, I reckon, 10 years old.
What about Chris? How old was he when he started playing?
Well, there was minis then, so
Okay.
I can't remember.
Yeah, so a bit different.
He was a bit different. My brother Andrew, 5 years younger than me, he was a bit different too because minis happened so they could start a bit sooner.
So you got any relatives in 1955, or the family hadn't moved up here then? You
No.
were still at Port Neill?
Dad was still at Port Neill.
Yeah. What was the name of this association that they were playing?
I think it was still County Jervois then.
And who was playing in County Jervois?
Cleveland Districts, I reckon.
Cleve,
Yeah, it would have been Cleveland Districts.
Ellsworth Park.
Arno Bay.
Who's that?
Ellsworth Park, I think.
Up near Riddell.
Yeah. Cow, two cow sides.
North and South.
Yeah,
And they played in County Jervois.
yeah.
And sorry, who was the other one, Jeff?
Mangalo.
Mangalo.
Thank you, Kath.
Port Neill.
Port Neill didn't come in until later.
But the last few years, I know Port Neill was still a team there.
That's Grandpa front and centre with the footy.
And I'm trying to think if Cow was in then or not.
The association would have been...
Cleveland, when Cleveland Districts, back then there was, well I remember as a kid there was Cow North, Cow South, Arno Bay, Cleve, Dark Peak, Riddell, Port Neill.
Wharminda, obviously.
And Wharminda, yeah, there must have been. It's all in the books, I suppose.
Wharminda was obviously a bit of a powerhouse for at least a couple of years.
Well, not in the times that I remember.
What do you remember about playing for Wharminda?
I remember that Wharminda just got flogged all the time. But I think if I remember correctly, the very last game before we folded up, or close to the end, they actually beat Cleve, which was sort of an arch nemesis at the time. And yeah, they were pretty thrilled to win that game.
And the party went on all night?
Well, I don't know if they really partied, but I remember that after games there used to be dances or teas here, straight after a game.
A beautiful dance floor.
Yeah.
We used to have dances regularly and people would come from everywhere. And a really fast dance floor. The Wharminda Hall.
Because of course the cabarets used to be a real feature of the...
Not too much cabarets, no, mainly just dances. And,
Balls, you used to have balls and have supper.
yeah.
I first saw my wife there at Wharminda.
really? You saw her across the hall?
Oh, I know, just in through the side door.
You met at Wharminda Hall, so she's from Wharminda? Or?
Well, Butler Tanks for another community further down. Yeah, their family followed Wharminda for a while because she had 3 young brothers. They followed Wharminda after we were married because they were a good bit younger than my wife.
So that was after the football?
Yeah, tea and dance was a standard thing. If you played at Riddell or Wharminda, especially at Wharminda, there's almost always a tea and a dance after the footy. And Cleve would come down to Arno Bay and go to a tea and dance. But if you played footy at Cleve, there was never one. They never ever had a tea and a dance at Cleve because they never had a hall, because the hall was the local institute, and they never used to go near that, so we never used to have tea and dance after footy at Cleve. But after interleague games, they used to have a dinner for just the players and not their partners or wives. Yeah, and they'd deal out the trophies for the best on the ground for the day. When we played at Kimber, they'd have a sit-down meal at the Kimber Hall for all the players that played against, and for both associations. Yeah. So, and all the hierarchy of the league would make their speeches, and they'd pick out the best players for the games, and they'd be given a trophy for the day. Yeah, I won a couple of those, and they at Cal. I don't remember playing in a league game, in an interleague game at Cal. I played one at Cleve that we lost, but prior to that, I must have played down there, but I can't remember it. I know we went down there in 60, played at Cal, 61 at Cleve, and then 62 I had a leg gash.
It's a good one.
From there to there. In 62, the first kick of the day, the fella put his foot out like that, and his aluminium sprig went.
Yeah, that was the day.
So off the ground up to Cleveland Hospital, and I didn't play again in 62 until the crop was put in, because of this. This was a huge gash, you know. It actually laid the muscle away from the bone. You could see the bone laying up there. Down. So it went up to Cleveland holding it like that.
Yeah, you would have done.
And it didn't bleed very much, because the vein was exposed, hadn't been cut. So that was, but that wasn't a player from Port Neill or Wharminda, that was a player from Rudell did that.
Yeah, right. Because they used to, of course, those aluminium studs would.
Yeah, they used to get very sharp. If you run around on a sandy ground, they used to wear along a bit to sort of tape it and have a nice sharp edge to them. Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
The footwear was interesting. For example, we used to wear boots. The boots had sprigs, leather sprigs, and but unfortunately the very hard grounds that we used to play on, the bricks are retained by nails, and the nails used to push through the boots into the foot. The sprigs used to get ripped out, and the nails, the leather would wear down, and the nails, the heads of the nails would be exposed. Pretty good weapon for gashing a fella. And then of course a bit later aluminium sprigs came in. And rather than the same thing happened, they used to come through the inside of the foot. They used to pull out, the grounds were very hard, and they used to wear very, very sharp.
Yeah, well, that's wrong. Well, I think the world's changed a bit, you know.
Yeah. And we were the first club to have showers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were the first club to have showers in '59.
Oh, well, that's a debated point, I reckon. There's a Wharminda history book somewhere, and I reckon in there it says that Wharminda change rooms were the first ones to have showers in the area. So everyone's got a, not that I can corroborate the story, but I reckon it's written in print.
Said it was Wharminda had the first one.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it's in that history book. You might have a copy of it.
It won't be far away, so.
I do have a copy that does
say that. Well, there you go.
We had club rooms, we put up club rooms in '53.
Yeah.
And they were made of, they had Jarrah floors for dancing.
Yeah, right.
And they never put the division down the middle because it was going to separate the two clubs. So each club got dressed looking at the other mob at the other end.
Yeah.
And when Angus Dillon came to the club in '59, the first thing he asked of the people, the local people, was, you know, for goodness sake, put showers here, hot showers. Yeah. So we put them in. And I know that Wharminda had club rooms earlier than us.
Mm.
But when we put showers in ours when he died, you know, we got out there in '59, and we were the first club to have them in.
Mm.
We may not have, Cleve might have had them, but anyway, we got showers because Angus Dillon come to coach us, and you know, he said we have to have showers. Well, we used to go to Wharminda, and yet they'd have a tea and dance after the match, and you'd go in there with you pull your suit pants on over muddy knees.
Yeah.
And they'd all be still on with BO, yeah.
Amazing the girls went near you.
It's pretty rough, yeah. Pretty rough.
It's amazing we're all here, isn't
So
it?
what did Arno Bay have before you had the club rooms there?
No, there was just some change rooms and a little canteen down the end where the scoreboard was.
The Arno Bay Club actually began in 1909, and my grandfather, Frank Pearce, was involved with the club after. There was a little club up at Boothby that folded, and they'd won the premiership in 1911. Boothby won the premiership against Arno Bay, but I think a couple of years later the Boothby club folded and those players went to Arno. In the early days, every farm had lots of people doing manual work, picking stumps and trying to clean land up because the whole district was scrubbed for a beginning, and it was pretty rugged in those days. And I think they really needed the sport because they used to work awful hours and had animals to bloody, no tractors, and it would have been pretty bloody hard. But anyway, the Arno Bay Club was in its same side as it is now. And I played on it when I was 15, and the whole oval was just red hard clay, nothing growing on it because it was salty ground, and just nothing grew. And I remember tackling a man, and I was only a kid, and my grip slipped off, and I fell on this hard clay on my left hip, and oh, the pain, and the erosion of it was so bad that there was a cricket pitch on it that actually stood out of the ground because the soil away had been gradually washed and blown away over the years. It was a terrible oval. So they moved it half an oval towards inland, and then it was like that from 51 to 59, 8 years, and then they had to move it back again because the new highway came through, which was going to go right through the middle of the oval we had. So it all went back to where it was, and they carted in a heap of drift sand, and we planted kikuyu grass on it, and we couldn't play there for the whole next season. And so the whole next 2 seasons we couldn't play on it because the grass hadn't sort of made enough growth to make it hold together. So we went out and did a play and got on the oval we played on the ground in 59, and in 1960 we had to go out and play inland about 4 mile out at what they call the 5 Road Crossroad. We played a couple of 3 seasons out there with absolutely no facilities at all. There was not even there was a bit of a tent thing to have a piss. If you wanted to shit, you had to go in the scrub somewhere. It was that bad. No running water.
Out there. I was only a young fella. I wasn't playing at all then. I think my father was playing for Rudau when we came there and watched the game there. Oh, well, I was only a little fella, but...
What was the surface like?
Oh, pretty average, and there was like just a piece of tin iron put up for change rooms or whatever, and that's about it. It was like a picnic ground.
And we played out there for 3 seasons and moved back onto the new oval where we had club rooms in 1963.
Was the surface any worse than what you had been playing on?
Oh, the surface out on the farm was at least it was agricultural soil and it wasn't all blown away, and that was reasonable.
Yeah.
It was softer than
It was probably softer than what you had been playing on.
Yeah.
Berger's got it front and centre. Or Brad Waite gets in there. Caleb Prime has it now.
Well, some good defending
Dumps
back
the
there.
tackle. Jake Barman kicks down the line. Dan Gregory's camped under it, taking a
good
great
mark.
grab.
Good mark.
Running back with the flight of the footy. Courageous stuff. Oh, he handballs into TD. Why wouldn't you?
Tommy
Looks
goes
into
long.
the middle. It's open paddock out there.
Yeah, the ground is exactly the same place now as it was in 63. The club rooms originally were up near the road, and after we built new ones, we took them all down, and the best of block we got out of that went to the Dirt Circuit Club for their toilets. And I don't know whether you've been to Arno Bay yet. We've got a pretty good club room down there that we built ourselves with all of our own money. The government gave us nothing for that. It was all money we raised ourselves. And
How'd you raise the money?
And we built a lot of it. In the harvest of 81, we had a lot of fellas donating grain. It was quite a good season, and a lot of fellas were putting in a few tons of grain.
They got the overlap here now.
Here, Jake Barman. Nice.
Port's on the wing.
Kicks to Lenny McDonald. Nice hands from the young lad.
Well.
Where's he going to go? He's going long. Sid and Bozo one-on-one. Dylan Bone gets
Oh, it's good effort there. Good
oh,
body
Brad
work.
Hitch, he finds the footy. Snap on the check side.
Now
He's kicked
Brad
that.
Hitch has done an Eddie Betts there. That was a great goal,
that
actually.
Was nice. The right foot banana running into the wrong pocket.
Yes, that was a very clever goal.
He's a very, very talented man, Brad Hitch.
Yes.
The next year was a drought, so there was nothing more forthcoming, but we were so close to getting it paid off that it was only open 6 months and we had all our debt cleared. So then they started raising money then to put the squash courts on the back. Now you haven't been there to see that yet, have you? The squash courts?
I haven't. I didn't notice the squash courts. I had been
well,
there.
The squash courts are part of the building. There's squash courts here that are really good, and you won't find a town as small as Arno Bay anywhere with squash courts like that.
I believe you.
Yeah, no, well, Arno Bay's only got a population of 200 to 300, you know, and
there's not many towns that size with squash courts. Period.
No, there's no towns that size with squash.
So whose idea was it?
There was a couple of blokes. There were 3 blokes that really drove it. It was Neill Ramsey, Alan Sevier and Ray Jacobs actually drove it because they wanted to play squash. And in fact, I think Neill and Ray Jacobs are still involved with squash.
Did you want to talk about the squash club at all?
Yeah, tell me about how that was built.
Well, basically, there used to be old club rooms down the end, and then a group of them decided that we needed to renew them. So that was in, what, 78, 79, and they decided that they would join the community, like, that's why it's called the complex. Instead of just having a football club and whatever, we'd join up everyone in together. So a group of us had played squash and we were pretty keen on squash, and we thought, oh, we'd be cheeky and say, oh, we've got a squash club. So we rocked up at that meeting and said, oh, well, we've got a squash club. You're going to build things you need to cater for us, you see. So anyway, when they built the building, because they didn't have the funds, to that middle bit there, this was stage 1, and the squash courts were to be stage 2. So we started raising money, and that's how we started the sale. There was an old guy had a farm, and he said, "Oh, you can take all my gear down to Arno and sell it on." So we sold that on behalf of the squash club, and then we decided we'd start up the dirt circuit. So that's how the dirt circuit got started here. So we went out on the swamp out here. We did a track, and we ran, I think, about 5 of them before they took that over. But anyway, so I got to about 84 or something like that, and then the current president, he was sort of indicating, there's not going to be enough really interest. In the meantime, we'd been going to Whyalla in a bus or to Port Lincoln to play, and it really actually made me just about cry, because we used to go down there. They had 8 courts down there that were beautiful, and they let them all slide, you know. Anyway, and so then we decided, well, if we're ever going to do anything, I'll have to go president of the complex, you see. So I went president of the complex. Now during that stage, we'd raised $40,000, and so then I started to look into what it was going to cost to build squash courts and whatever. And when I got, because these are pretty unique, these have been built precast, and when I got asking around, like everywhere else they'd built the squash courts, they'd been built out of Besser brick, and then they've been plastered, and they're forever it was a cost of replastering. They couldn't keep them on. And they said, oh, if you're ever going to build them, they've got to be building precast, you see. So then there was only one bloke who could do precast, and he was the one in Whyalla. And he had sort of semi-retired, and when I went and seen him the first time, why would I want to even go down? So it took me nearly 6 months to actually talk him into coming down, and he come down to the club and he seen the enthusiasm and that, and eventually he come down. But then we had to have the meeting because I worked out it was going to be about 80 to 90,000, and we had to borrow $30,000. And I've told them you can have a meeting like AGM every year. No one turned up. That time we had a meeting. We had this packed. We had about 40 people there, and there was that many negative people in the town that got up and said, oh, you young people, you're going to ruin us. This was going to be a white elephant, you know, and never get used and whatever. But anyway, there was enough on the positive there, and we got through and borrowed the money. And
it has been used?
Hadn't stopped being used?
No, it hadn't stopped.
And as far as our courts go, like the Squash SA and certain people have been here, they're as good as anywhere you'll play in Australia.
Because we got the glass from England, and that's ramming the flooring. So that's the top grade flooring you can get at the time. So with the cast walls, yeah. And the other thing is, because they're glass back like this, and I've had people come here and pass a comment, and because we've got the bar here, people play and then they stop and mingle like with each other, whereas other courts you go to, they got like an alleyway, you walk in or you walk up the top and play, but the bar's down the other side, so the ones that have played, they'll go down to the bar, they're out of it, and you got your few there. And they said that's the other thing, like they love coming here because they play their partner and they have a talk with him, and they'll have a beer or a drink or whatever. So
there's very, very few squash courts around that you could actually sit this far back from a squash court and watch squash. Most courts have just, like Neill said, they've got the little alleyway behind them. It's very unique how this is set up.
But when the clubhouse was built, I was responsible for the building of it. I never had any formal qualifications, except I'd done a bit of building on the farm for myself. And for 3 or 4 months, I used to set Gavin going on the farm with the work for the day, and spend the rest of the day down there organising whatever workforce turned up. So farmers would rock up if they had some spare time. They'd go to Arno Bay, and I'd have something for them to do. So we opened the place in August of 82. August 82 it was opened, and 2 years later we put the squash courts on, and they cost more than the original building cost completely. Yeah.
So they really wanted to play squash.
They did, yeah. and it's been good because I mean. Monday nights are squash nights, I go past and there's always someone there. And they've just recently fixed the kitchen up, and Gavin's wife Judith, my son Gavin's wife Judith, has been involved with that. He's the secretary of the committee that runs the complex down there.
In my point of view, I mean, like I started playing footy here in mini colts. And I don't know, I was pretty athletic, and I got to a point, I was about 18 or 19, and I just wondered what if. So I went to Whyalla, and you could see all the clubs and you know, we always envious of Cleve because they had a club, and you know, and to have a club building and meals and have people back there afterwards, it created a club environment. And I always wanted one to have, Arno Bay to have one. I was very envious. So when they built the club rooms down here,
which was when?
Yeah, back in the 80s, early 80s.
So fairly recently.
It's not only football, it's netball as well. So I think it's massively important, the sport.
Riley Maitland's wrapped up, gets the ball out.
Well done
Dylan
again.
Bone. lofty handball out to...
Young Nick Francis gets the
Oh,
ball.
Betty Leader's wrapped him up.
Oh, I think he's pinned
Put him in the back. He's pulled him in the back.
It's a soft one, but there's a free kick to Dion Wolford at half back. For in the back.
Down fell very easily.
He fell forward, didn't he?
Yeah, he knew it was coming.
Tom Davey
bangs it on the boot. It's going to get over the back. Bounces. Sid Masters taps it up. Betty lead it. Oh, shucks it.
Spins out of trouble. Beautiful.
Oh.
That's a great goal.
Geez, that is a brilliant goal by Betty Lena.
We've seen some.
Just changed that we probably expected a little bit more, and you know we need the club rooms and good facilities, a nice grassed oval and all that. And that's the way the world's changed, I know. But
Well, apparently Wharminda was the first one to have showers.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'll tell you in this brief history that Wharminda Grounds, although they're not there now, was actually the first club in the association to have change rooms as such.
Yep. Yeah. They had good facilities. They had showers.
They had showers. Yep.
Really? What happened to all the change rooms and stuff?
Well, actually, when football would finish and we had sort of tennis here, we were getting a lot of snakes. Turned out they were actually using the change rooms as a bit of a cubbyhole, so we had to dismantle and clear the site, and that got rid of the snakes. And the school was close by as well, so
yeah.
We just didn't want that. So in the end, they were still standing, but we actually had to take them down.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And of course the goalposts are gone as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the local community, and some years we actually crop the oval and a little bit by the fire shed, and that's just a little bit of money goes back to the hall.
Beacons used to run their cattle on there at one stage on the oval, and I remember the cricket season after that, the balls would just be hitting it and going, because you get down behind it like that and they'd just about take your head off.
Yeah. There's a cricket pitch out in the middle there. I know probably gone now because they, as Peter was just saying, you know, sowing it for crop and that sort of thing. But
what was the surface like then?
About like that.
And we baled it for hay one year. With a couple of 100 bales of hay. Yeah, it was as good as what the season was, that oval.
What's the oval like?
The oval?
Because of course it's been cropped and you can't really...
Well, it was pretty high grass.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad.
And toilets. You went behind a tree at the side.
No, by then we had proper
You didn't have toilets here when I first went.
You walked out to bushes. But by the time you were there, we had proper toilets.
You did not.
Go on.
Great people. I played footy against Dooley. He's 6 years older than me. And in '59, when I was a skinny kid, Dooley laid me out with a shoulder into the ribs.
Yes.
It was a bouncing ball, and I leapt to get up to it, and he just ran into me with the shoulder here, and I lost all my wind. I thought I was going to die. I remember I had the last laugh on him. In '64, I won the male medal, and I was playing tough footy in those days. I remember ripping the ball out of his brother's hands and running, and Dooley's there trying to grab me. Anyway, I sidestepped him and he grabbed me, but he finished up on the ground because his grip let go. I'd already pulled him off his feet, and I had a full head of steam. And I kicked the ball, and Dooley's behind me on the ground because he fell over. So I had a bit of a laugh out there at '64. So that was my best year. I was 22 then, and I was playing strong footy.
Tell me about Adrian Masters. What was he like as a player?
Oh, well, dirty little bloke.
He was always a good player, so.
Well, I could run and duck and dodge, but my brother David was 6 foot, 6'3" or 4.
A foot taller than you, anyway.
He was a better mark, like he could mark in a pack.
The County Juniors League thinks the sun shines out of him, but you remember that bloke with the grey beard, Bill Edwards, the night you know?
Oh, that yeah.
Billy Edwards had a beard, came down to about here. I had Billy Edwards harassing him when we were playing one day, and Billy could do the job, and he did the block in the end, and grabbed Billy by the beard and was dragging him around by the beard and was trying to thump him with his other hand. And in the end, Billy let it go and just, he didn't do anything for a while. But in the end, when he wouldn't let go of his beard, Billy swung one on him, bang, put him on the ground. And he didn't, and Billy got reported. And he got nothing.
Very good footballer. Yep. Yeah, he could have spent a lot more time in Adelaide playing footy.
Yeah, quite a good ruckman.
A very talented family, that one. They were all very good footballers, right, starting right back to their grandparents, grandfathers. So.
He was a good footballer. Didn't matter what he played well.
So you had a couple of to-dos with him?
Oh, yeah, I've had to-dos with him too.
And that's my uncle, that's Adrian Dooley.
Yep.
Jim Post might have retired by then, but Sid and I think that it was when Frank Post came back and played with us that the club dominated, because he was a good coach as well as being a very good player himself. I think he'd played with North Adelaide, and he came over and coached us. He was a strict coach, but a good coach. And he skippered that team and dominated, being an ex-league player. And all the posts were excellent footballers, including Jim. Sid was 6 foot, quite 6'2" or 3" tall. Not the best kick, but a brilliant mark, and always got the ball. But Frank Post, he'd came out of playing with, I think it was North Adelaide.
The main thing I remember was like my Uncle Ray and...
I got reported on the Neill.
What'd you do?
I struck a bloke called, he went to Streaky Bay after that. What was his name? No, I don't remember. I just got a bit cranky.
Mm-hmm. When you were playing for?
Arno. I was coaching Arno.
Mm-hmm.
If it hadn't been for Dave Masters, I might have hit another bloke.
Mm-hmm. What was the oval like?
Is that the oval there?
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember the trees in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I would have played 3 or 4 games of cricket there.
Yep.
And 1 game of footy.
You don't remember the surface?
No.
Or if there was grass or not?
No, there's no grass, I'm sure. I'm sure she's very much a dirt oval.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was just grass weeds here, nothing much else, I suppose. Yep. The main thing I remember was like my Uncle Ray and Phil Bates were the trainers over the other side, so you'd sit by them so you got chewies all afternoon.
So what year was it when you would have played your first game at this oval?
1971, 70, no, it'd be 67 or 68. Somewhere around that.
Yep.
My mother brought that thing down, that whole thing down with the truck. She was going to tennis practice, and the car wasn't available, so she decided to take the truck, and it had the high sides on it. She went through there and she looked up and she saw it coming down, so she put her foot down to get away from it, ripped the whole bloody thing down. Dad straightened it all up and had to rebuild the whole thing. They're all new bricks there in that photo.
We trained here sometimes and sometimes at the Verran Oval.
Which one's that?
Verran, which is, you wouldn't have come past it, but they would have been another club once, but we had people from Verran and people from here playing, so we trained there sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Verran holding, one of them looked like tired, I'll move around from here if I do. Verran had a club up to 1939 when they closed the war, and Verran didn't have a club after the war in 1945. They played with Wharminda.
And what colours were Verran?
There, I believe, were blue and white.
Yeah.
They'll tell you here, actually.
I'd like to go up there and find the oval, but Peter tells me it's a bit tricky to find the Verran oval.
You can't miss it, really.
Oh, really?
No, I'll draw a mud map for you before you go.
I'll go and find it later on today.
Okay.
So once we actually joined Port, I think the only player from here that went and played senior football was Morris Smith, who went to Rideau, just because of where he lived, who is the father of Darren Smith. But nearly everyone else just stopped playing, but nearly all their children went to Port Neill. And when Port Neill had its premiership years, nearly all of those children were actually in those teams.
Yeah, yeah.
So you'd be one of those children?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. No, we had a pretty strong sort of cult side in the late 70s, I think, in there at Port Neill. On the A grade, we're all getting flogged, but then, you know, as the wheel turns and...
That's where success comes from, of course.
Yeah, that's right. That was a bit of a nucleus of the side, and then when the committee got Stephen Horn to come and coach in 1984, that was sort of the start of, what we kindly refer to as the golden years for the Port Neill Footy Club, or from my era.
So you obviously played at premierships at Port Neill?
Yes.
Because they had a bit of a golden period.
We did. My first 3 years of A grade, we went 3.5 years without winning a game, though. But then when I was in my mid-20s, we hit a patch, a few players come in, and we always had a basis of a team, and once we got to win, we didn't like not winning.
Once you learn how, you didn't stop. Yeah. And Port Neill, did they keep the same colours when Wharminda came in?
Yeah, Port Neill were black and white. So they stayed black and white, but actually when we won all our premierships, quite a big kerfuffle, we'd actually gone to brown and gold. Arno Bay were black and white as well, as Port Neill, so there was a bit of a push, I'm not sure where it came from, but it was voted.
Do you know where the push came from to change the colours?
Adrian, I think. He did a lot of work towards it.
I didn't have the president, I was secretary. Because we came from Wharminda, we were virtually equal, and the club accepted that. But they were so die-hard, they didn't want to go black and white. We took brown and gold because they had all sorts of changes of colour. They wanted Neill white with a black stripe, and they looked terrible.
Yeah, I remember changing colours. I remember Stephen Horn was the coach when we changed colours, and there was, like Peter was saying there before, there was a hell of a kerfuffle whenever you try and change colours in a club. All the old boys that you hadn't seen for ages come around to the meetings, but...
It was voted, pretty big meeting, to go brown and gold, and so all those premierships happened in brown and gold.
I heard there's a bit of a story about Adrian Masters going over to Melbourne and get the jumpers at the last minute.
Well, he was president at the time, so he'd come from here. My dad was secretary of the club at the time. So yeah, they did a lot of powerhouse organising, and Adrian hopped on a plane, and because the jumpers weren't going to make it for the first game, and flew over and actually flew them back.
I played all my footballs at Wharminda. When Wharminda closed down through lack of numbers, I don't know, I never ever played at Port Neill, but I was involved with the club. And the club decided that they had, they were a shocking Guernsey, a black thing with a bit of white on. They decided that, it was Port Neill, that they'd change to the same colour as, who's the club in Melbourne, Heather? Hawthorn. And anyway, one of the ladies rode away and got Guernseys, and they sent all long sleeve Guernseys back. Well, the men would not wear them. There was only one or two wanted them. So we didn't know what the hell to do. They'd come from Melbourne. So I packed them in a suitcase and booked my flight to Melbourne. Took them back. I had rang the company before. I rang them and went to the Hawthorn Football Club with the Guernseys and waited there, and somebody from the company that we came down, there was only one chap wanted a long sleeve Guernsey, but we thought we should get long sleeve for the mini colts. So we kept the mini colts Guernseys and we traded in took back the 2 sets of Guernseys, all except one, I think it was.
When you flew over to pick them up, did you fly out of Port Lincoln?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah. It cost me about $700 or $800, I think.
Was that the first time you'd been to Melbourne?
Yeah, yeah. But from the airport, I just asked for a taxi to take me wherever I wanted to go.
Yep. And what was your impression of Melbourne?
Pardon?
What was your impression of Melbourne?
Fairly busy.
Fairly busy. Busier than Wharminda.
Yeah. I was younger then and more since then and had more brains then, I suppose. But I got a taxi from the airport to the Hawthorn Football Club. The Guernseys had to come from somewhere else, not the Hawthorn Football Club. But they did. It wasn't all that long, because we'd rang and had ordered them. They, I don't know whether somebody brought them down or whether a taxi brought them down. But they were in big boxes. I got a taxi back to the airport and flew home and flew to Adelaide, and I don't know, I think I flew back to Lincoln. But
and then Heather was waiting and the other ladies waiting with their sewing machines revved up.
Yeah, ready to go. I'd rang and told them.
From Melbourne.
Oh, from Melbourne.
Yeah.
So you got the call.
Yeah. I'm coming.
Ellen Will, I think.
Ellen Will. That's the one.
It was a very good dressmaker.
She was the one
Auntie.
She told the girls exactly what.
Really? So she was a good stick?
Lovely lady, glamorous lady. Her or Mick Will, the other fellow I played footy with, fullback. It's his mum, and she actually was a head seamstress at was it Fletcher Jones or one of those places after they left the farm and living in Adelaide. Yeah, beautiful lady, and and she would, well, put it this way, one of the sons got married. There were 4 boys and Uncle Jeff. She made all the suits for them, as well as, if I remember rightly, I think she made the bride's dress as well as the bridesmaids' dresses, I think. But no, she was just a beautiful, glamorous lady. Yeah,
and very good with a sewing machine.
Oh, bloody hell, she was. And she would have had everyone lined up and said, right, this is how we do it, and away she would have gone.
Correct way.
He told the girls exactly what to. They all bring their sewing machines into the clubhouse at Port Neill, and
she had all the cotton ready.
I got back. That was on the Friday, and 4 teams took the field in Hawthorn colours on Saturday.
So what happened? You got the call, and then the call.
I just said to the girls that they're all sort of hanging around. We were waiting for him to come back, wondering if he was ever going to. And I said, right, we've got to get the sewing machines here. So she set up the tables, this woman. She knew just how to set them up. She'd worked in a sewing place before. And she set them all up, and we all had cotton given to us, and that's what we had to thread our sewing machines with. And
this is before Adrian actually arrived back with the jumpers? So you had them threaded up, ready to go?
Ready to go, yeah.
But I had a list of
who they were,
what
size the jumper,
size jumper, number, whatever. But the field, it was amazing the next day.
The mini-cocks came out in their little jumpers.
Four teams took the field in Hawthorn colours. High credit to the girls.
Ellen Will was the organiser and she really did a good job, really great job, you know. She
You
knew
had about 10 ladies there, didn't you?
Eh?
You had about 10 of your sewing.
Oh, we had sewing machines on every table in the hall. Club rooms.
Club rooms. But
how many ladies were involved?
Would have been about 15. All sitting there, sewing. Nobody talked. Everyone just sewed. Yeah.
On the Friday they sewed them and the team took 7. The club took the field with 4 sets of new Hawthorn Guernseys. And it was quite a thrill, and I think we won the premiership that year.
That was 1984.
And you won the premiership that year?
Yeah, 84, 86, 87, 88, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah, that's the scrapbooks.
Oh, really? Well, can we have a look at the scrapbooks?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
That'd be terrific. Coach Confident, is that you?
No, that's Arno Bay. So who was coaching that year? That would have been, Gary Davis.
Yeah. And he's confident of beating your Port Neill team? Or?
This is very early in the piece. It's 84, so this is our first year I was down here. And we were pretty lucky because we'd got Stephen Horn. I don't know if you heard of Stephen Horn. His father actually was coaching up here in 1964, 63, 62. And Stephen represented EP, centre half back. And so he could, and I actually played footy with him down at Lincoln South back in 1980. And so I knew what Brute was like. And when I heard he was coaching here, I thought, well, that's a nice plus. I was also lucky enough to get this Bruce Hines, and Hinesy, buddy, and probably heard Jeff and Kath and Peter etc. talk about Hinesy, but ex-Norwood and pretty handy sort of a boy as well.
Yep.
But we also picked up the Lockwood boys from Tumby Bay. Those two. Who's the other one? Oh, Butch Kitson. He moved from Ungara. He bought a farm bought up here.
Yeah.
And then Big Pete Schillerbeer and Big Ruckman. It all just sort of fell into place at the right time in '84, and
because that was sort of the start of it, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
And those blokes stuck around, or they simply taught everyone how to win?
Well, with Hinesy, he certainly stuck around. Horny, he coached up here the first year, and he went back to Lincoln South, coaching down there. Hinesy took over the coaching role, and he just brought another element to the whole group as well.
Oh yeah, yep.
And, looking at all the names, I mean, Stephen Horn as coach was a Port Neill lad originally, and he'd gone to Lincoln, and we got him back. He was a very accomplished footballer and a great leader on the field, and he sort of took it to another level. He made people get serious about training. Like that '84 year, we trained twice a week all year, like right through seeding and everything, which was a little bit unheard of for us. And Horny had to drive down from Port Lincoln twice a week to take the training. But yeah, it certainly did make a big difference when you got serious about things.
Team effort to Port Neill. They won nearly all their matches in 1984.
Things sort of fell into place a little bit for us that year with, guys like Rick Will moved into town. Horny obviously coaching, and Bruce Hines bought the shop at Port Neill and made a huge difference, yeah. Just a little bit, yeah. Sometimes things just come together for you, don't they? And it did for us back then. There's Rick taking the screamer.
So he could play?
Yeah, very good footballer, Rick. Very skilled and very tough. Took no prisoners. He was fair dinkum when he was out there.
He was a tough bastard. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, he was a good footballer. Very hard and, yep.
You played with him?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Apparently he's pretty hard, man.
Oh, he was tough, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I think they was all pretty hard. In fact, there was a coach apparently that...
Bruce Hines.
Was he?
Bruce Hines.
Ah, yeah. He's a bit famous, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, and he came in and sort of changed the culture.
He did. A lot of people, and that was before my time too, a lot of people say it was Stephen Horn that started it. And Bruce took it over.
Yeah.
But Bruce was a hard man.
Yeah.
But a lot of people give Stephen Horn a lot of credit.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Because of course Port Neill had gone through a period of, well, with almost, I think they went years without a win, according to Peter Prime.
Yes.
Before your time, I guess, but you know, then it's a big mental change, isn't it, to go from that sort of attitude to a winning.
It is, yeah.
Culture.
That's what Bruce did. Yep. It was very much discipline.
Yeah.
He was a hard coach, but he got the best out of a lot of players.
Yeah. What was his approach, and what did he used to say?
He was the hard man himself.
Go on, Blake, say it.
Hard, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
probably hard off the ball too, but anyway,
he was pretty hard off the ball. Yeah. Yeah. It was a take no prisoners thing. Yeah.
I can't believe none of them have brought that Guernsey up.
Before 84. Well,
I fucking should ring Dad right now.
What Guernsey?
Can't believe none of them have said about ripping that Cleve Guernsey to shreds.
Ah, tell me about that.
Yeah, well, so the story goes, it's before the Grandy, and Bruce Hines has somehow acquired a Cleve Guernsey and thrown it into the middle of them, and they've just fucking ripped it to shreds.
And it worked?
Yeah, they mauled them.
yeah, we were probably a bit of a nice side before 84. Well, maybe not. That's probably not quite right, but...
Is that right?
I don't know about that one, but I know someone hit him one day. Russell Jolly was the umpire, and he knew there'd be some retaliation.
Yeah.
So he was watching. This bloke went down and said, Russell didn't see it. I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
Yeah, it certainly can be done.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say he was a dirty footballer.
Yeah.
He was pretty freaking
a hard man.
Yeah.
Fair.
Sometimes.
But certainly he demanded and he got respect.
Oh yeah, he really had respect, yeah.
From the opposition, of course, and that's what he wanted his team to get, I guess, was respected.
And he had respect within the team too, like he set the example.
Yeah.
You know, guys like Hines, he sort of brought that bit of mongrel into the side, which is what you need. Yeah, I suppose grand final was our first one, and Peak did have a reputation, like Dark Peak had a reputation of winning grand finals. They'd had a pretty good run, and we'd never won one, but then we'd lost, you know, hadn't won a lot of games previous to that, or previous to 84, I suppose, even. But
we were lucky enough that, as I said, with the recruits that we'd had, we got going pretty well early in the piece, and from that we got to the middle of the year, and shock and horror, we actually got beaten by one of the opposition clubs. I think was that Dark Peak, the first one. Yeah, it's when Dark Peak beat us. And then the following week we got beaten by Rudow, I reckon you'll find, if I remember rightly. And that didn't go down that well with the boss, that's for sure.
Your memory's pretty good, I think.
Yep.
By 4 points.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure if we didn't get beaten by Cleve in the third game. I reckon we lost 3 on the trot.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the games you had to lose.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Peter kicked his ton.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's middle of the year, and this is when, look at our side, and there's probably 6 or 8 of us were shearers, and getting off tractors and everything else as well, and pretty leg weary, leg heavy I should say.
Yep.
And from there, yeah, we got a bit more energy, got things going again, and from that we came up against Arno Bay, and Arno, I think we gave him a fair old buddy touch-up, if I remember rightly.
34 goals, 21 to 11-4, yeah.
And then from that, we were up and going again.
Or in fact, P Prime, 15 goals.
Yep, and unforgettable day for Peter.
Ah.
Yeah. I reckon that the year he kicked his first 100. I remember.
Right. 104 goals in 12 games.
Yeah. Yep. Well, those prime cracks a ton.
Yeah, Peter was full forward. I kicked quite a few goals.
Yeah. No, Peter was very, very strong in front, very accurate, very strong through the legs, the hips, never get knocked over, always keep his feet. Yeah. Pretty much all the prime boys like that.
Yeah. You know, those boys just developed in a matter of 2 or 3 years into exceptional footballers actually. And
Pete Prime still.
Yeah, Pete was still buddy kicking goals. Pete was never a huge kick like Chris. You know, you get him 40 metres out in the biggest distance, but you know, you try and move him, and you know, Peter's a big man now, but back in his day, all the prime boys got legs on like stone.
That's correct, right.
And so you know, they were bloody hard to move, and Pete at full forward, you know, you'd get on a one-on-one and they'd try and move him, and he'd just bang.
He reminds me of Dunstall. Just solid, sturdy, accurate, just yeah.
Off the field, fairly quiet sort of a guy, but once they cross that white line, you know, if you're in between him and the ball, you're in a bit of trouble, really.
His brother was probably a little bit better player, and he's still coaching mini colts here, I think. But when he played for us, Chris, just regularly he's being sent off, I don't know why. But he got sick of it, so he moved here to Tumby Bay and won the male medal, first year.
When he was in his 30s, I think, well into his 30s.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the crying shame about with Crispy is that, you know, as we lost players from up here, moved away, etc., and more and more got put on his shoulders as well. And then, of course, when that was happening, opposition was just belting him behind the ear and things like that. And I don't want to be derogatory against umpires or anything, but it wasn't looked after. So in the end, he'd snap and lose his bloody temper, and you know, he could have done some bloody major damage. And
so at times it was self-inflicted.
Only at times.
At times. There were a few umpires that I had obviously rubbed up the wrong way through time.
There's at least one that you hated and they hated.
Yeah, that was due to cricket though. Yeah, I think I gave him a send off at cricket, and Gabbo was keeping, and Pete Forrest was in first slip, and they were just cacking themselves. And then they thought, well, maybe we've gone a little bit far, but yeah, no. Vanby and I, there was no love lost there, and I used to win on the cricket field, and they used to just roll me up on the footy field. And I shouldn't say this, they were the days when umpire would give the all clear, they'd go to the thing, and they'd always run backwards. Great thing about being full forward, you kick your goal, you turn around, you clap your teammates. You do it right behind the umpire, they're going to go straight into you. So you can make contact with them without doing a thing. So some of it was very much self-inflicted, but yeah, there was a little bit of white line fever.
You remember that trip to, I think it was Kimber? You must have got a ride up with me and the old man, and on the way up, my dad, he's saying, "Now, Chris, you've just got to make sure you do the right thing today. You control your temper." Yep, no worries, no worries.
Don't get
reported. What happens? It gets reported. So there's an interesting trip home from Kimber.
Was that the flashing light in the boot one?
Yeah, I think it was the same day.
Rudell is the one that gets me, the Evans boys. Mick Evans grabbed hold of me right in front of our coach's box. He had my arms pinned, and his younger brother come up and punched me right in the nose. The umpire was standing, who was a policeman, standing about 10 metres away. And I looked at him, and he was just smiling. And the bloke who punched me when his brother let go took off through the rail.
Like, no shit, hit and run. Like, it's a tractor. You hit a tractor, you're going to run. But, yep, give Crispy a clip around the ears. Crispy turn around, fucking, he's off, over the field, gone. Run off the field, yeah.
So what happened? Let's see.
Around the back of the club rooms and come in by their coach's box.
Oh, I've never seen anything like that. He just, boom, jumped the rail and ran away. Chris started chasing him.
And the umpire 50 metres away sent you off because you were going to retaliate.
I copped a little bit, but yeah, and I said to that umpire later, I said, well, if I'd punched him, you would have reported me. And he goes, yes. And I said, well, why didn't you report him? You're big enough to look after yourself. So, it went both ways. Like, yeah, I gave it out, but I was copping it with no protection. So, it was detrimental to my football and changing clubs. I was a little bit quieter when I got to Tumby, but yeah, it was just that a change was a free.
Took the load off because there was sort of you and me carrying and Andrew carrying most, well, don't want to sound like a big head, but we're carrying a fair bit of the weight of the team. There was a lot of young kids playing, and at the time, and then so you go to Tumby when suddenly it's coming lace out, and you don't have to work your guts off and you're not copping it from everyone else. Because he did get a fair bit of attention from other teams because they knew, oh, if we can fire him up and get him to do something silly, well, then it's going to be advantageous to us.
So my first year at Tumby, the assistant coach at Ramblers was from Cleve, and his tactic to his fullback was just punch him. Because that worked at Cleve. Problem was, when the ball's coming in 6 or 7 times, 10 times a quarter, you can punch me because I'm going to get the next one. And so it didn't work. It was a whole different attitude.
Yeah. When he got to Tumby, he had a very good centre line.
Well, he had Curtis.
Yep. But Hunty was there as well, I think. He's pretty good too. And fucking, they'd just feed him. It's like a fucking big pelican there, just gulping him up. And he can kick straight. So he got it. That's it. Show over.
Very different kettle of fish then.
I mean, I was involved in coaching Tumby with Richard Horgan from 2006 to 2009. Tumby had a really strong period then. You know, it was when Chris Prime came to the club, and you know, Michael Curtis come home from his career at Sturt, and you know, they were, you know, probably two of the better players I've ever seen play. I mean,
150 goals in his first year.
Oh, you know, he was freakish. He was just a gun, Primey. And I mean, you know, I remember when he came to the club and we were sitting there, Richard Horgan and myself, and Hog said to me, he said, I reckon if we can get, you know, 40 or 50 goals out of this guy, it's just going to be something the club hadn't had, you know. And then he comes out and kicks 156 and wins the male medal, 14 in the grand final. But he was a star, Primey. I mean, I think the thing I loved about him too, just he was such a skillful player. I don't think people realised how skillful he was. I mean, big man obviously, but he certainly, it took Tumby a while to understand that you couldn't bomb the ball in, because I think by his own admission he's not a leaper or anything like that, but his ability, if he got in a one-on-one contest on the run, people couldn't get around him. And I remember a day he kicked 12 here against Ramblers, and it was, you know, Tumby and Ramblers have got a pretty strong sort of rivalry, I guess, that's been built over a number of years, and he kicked 12 here on Tumby Over, 12 out of 17, and you know, had some good players standing to him. I mean, Simon Pedler was still a gun player then, and you know, they threw everything at him, and it was just almost that little turning point, I think. That's where Tumby sort of thought, well, you know, we're on here, and
Chris is probably the guy that, to me, is the country footballer and all the ones that I've seen that could have the biggest influence on the game. Yeah, you just turn the game on its head.
But he's a big bloke.
A very big bloke.
And he'd be twice, 3 times your size.
Gave it away, Russell. Davey, nice little piece of work. Cowan puts the foot on the accelerator but can't quite get past. Working back is McKinnon. This is Irvin around the body. It's a long kick, it's a high kick. Crime, beautiful use of the body, snaps at goals, and he's got his third. Norwood get their sixth, they're 6-8. West Adelaide are 4-12, and we're inside half a minute into the last quarter.
Well, that was quite spectacular play by this big full forward. Have a look at this. Have a look how well he traps it. It was quite extraordinary. There's Irvin's kick. Look at this. Bang. Perfect bounce for him, but he just trapped it so well. And he was directly in front and banged it through. Third goal, and what a critical one.
I reckon last year he played here, they made him vice-captain, I reckon, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, he was a bit of a hit over there, I think.
I reckon the saddest day, I can still remember Chris Prime telling me he's going to Tumby Bay. He told me in the Port Neill pub I was crushed.
Again, I just find it a crying shame that he left up here under the cloud that he did, went down to Tumby Bay, but he absolutely has slaughtered it down.
One-on-one, he was unbeatable, really.
Yep.
Like you said, all that, you know, looking that way and one-handed stuff and mark over here, and then had such a beautiful kick. Anywhere, you know, 50 plus metres, you'd pretty much put it down for a goal every time.
Great way.
Yeah.
Oh, come on!
That's Gav Masters, I think. That'd be Heinzie, I think.
That's Heinzie.
He handballs to...
Definitely Heinzie.
He handballs to Chris Prime.
A young Chris, isn't it?
16.
Definitely Chris. Yeah, that's definitely Chris.
Yeah, and yeah, the three primes, they're all goal kickers. Some people are great footballers, but they're not goal kickers. The primes, the whole three of them were goal kickers. They knew where they were, and they're very accurate.
Andy Prime could actually play.
Great player, awesome player. It's that lazy little left foot, never missed. You'd never think he'd get to the ball, but he was just always in the right spot.
The A-grade votes had also been pre-counted, and best and fairest with 17 votes was Andrew Prime.
Yeah, he's a second son.
Younger brother Chris was named best utility player, and older brother Peter won the Dick Kuzner Memorial Goal Kicking Trophy for the 13th time. For the 13th time.
Yeah.
Best and fairest runner-up with 16 votes was Gavin Masters.
That's David's son.
Really, another Masters, another Wharminda man.
Yeah.
Most consistent was Butch Kitson. Best placed man was Mick Will. Most improved was John Masters, another son.
Yes, brother to Gavin.
And best team man was David Head. Jeff Prime then gave a brief football history of the club before he and Kath presented each team member with a premiership medallion.
That's
which is what you want.
That's why we kept the books. Yeah. Our son played all through those games.
Yep.
What year's that? Oh, goodness me. They've got everything.
Everything.
I started this because I had 3 boys playing in it. Chris was only 14 at that time, but 1988 they were all in it.
And they featured fairly prominently.
Yeah. The Port Camp rally does the second quarter commence with Andrew Prime best on the ground, roving to perfection, setting up many opportunities for his team. Andrew sort of doesn't get many accolades with Chris, and because he played centre or in the centre of the ground.
It was just a bloody sensational time, and I think that's why everyone looks back on these sort of years, and our wives hate it because we keep calling them the golden years, because that's what they were. They're just sensational years. And
Turns, his son's playing for us now.
Oh yeah?
That's young Jake Turner. You'll probably see him tomorrow, number 28. He's a superstar. The same thing as his old, you see his old man, I think number 15 in some of those ones. He's the same age as me, one or the other. Yeah, Jake, what he's saying. Yeah, 14's Rick. Yeah, I reckon 15 was Scott Turner. But yeah, Jake's even more so. The same sort of rangy player, just fast and under the ball.
Wolford now gets the hand. Oh, he wasn't expecting it, Racker wasn't, but he breaks clear. Gets the ball over to Wycamp. Wycamp now looks for Clements. He can't take it. Xavier Watson drops the mark. Sid Masters gets it on his wrong foot, looks short. Kenny picks up the ball, gets rid of the handball. Intercepted by Great Flinders. He's tackled. He's gone. That's holding the ball umpire. What a great tackle. Jake Turner 16-year-old. Was a great. Now is he a left footer? I think.
Yes, he is.
So he's on the right, on his right side here to put a very, very important goal on the board for Eastern Eyre, mate.
And that was a very important tackle for a young fella, only 16 years of age, and he just grabbed him, wasn't going to let him go, and we'll see how he goes now. He'd be 20 metres out, so he comes in on the left.
Oh, that's a lovely
That's
kick.
straight through the middle.
Beautiful kick. And that's definitely a contender of the EP Surf goal of the day. That was a great tackle, and it puts the Eastern Eyre side back in front. They now lead 3-5, 23 to Great Flinders, 3-4, 22 on the Boat Supply scoreboard.
I said before, the people that have been in this club over the years, I moved down here in '84 and I married a local girl, and the that community was there. I mean, I keep talking about Sojourner and how close a community that used to be and everything else as well, but here I think it's even more predominant in that regard. And when something was on, everyone just holds bolus, and even to this day, the club's a lot smaller, but need a working bee. And like I said, came down here with the idea of pulling marshmallows because they'd just grown that bloody big. Peter had been watering the bloody oval so it was easy to pull the bloody things out. And he probably didn't tell you these sort of things, but he was coming in every 8 hours from the farm to bloody move the bloody sprinkler or to bloody get it going again. And I said the other day, Peter, I live here, just let me know. He said, oh yeah, I've got John Sully's number as well, but anyway.
But it needed doing, so he just did it. But
and so he advertised we wanted a working bee, and there would have been 25, 30, even a few young kids amongst it as well. And we were out there for probably 3-4 hours and pulled a heap. But that's just what they do here. It is. It's a great community, and that's why I suppose I'm very loath to see things disband as far as the your local footy league and things like that as well. So. This bloke here,
is that Chris?
Bruce Hines.
Bruce Hines, is it?
Tough, resilient. And you had Stephen Horn across half back, and had this bloke in the middle, and hard as nails, and without being dirty. And a lot of blokes reckon, buddy, Hines is just a dirty mongrel bastard, but he wore a lot, he took a lot. And he wasn't afraid to give a bit back. And so when he came in, we must have been Dart Peak in the second semi. Cleve. So beat Cleve in the second semi. Dart Peak cleaned Cleve up in the prelim, and we played Dart Peak at Cleve in the Grandy, and won. But again, we're really lucky to have all those sort of blokes like Horny, Hinesy, Big Pete Shillabeer, the Lockwood boys, etc. It was a very combined unit, and then Hinesy the next year took over the role as coach, and Hinesy's words were, no one remembers who comes second, and that got embedded in us that bloody much that even now we always used to say what Hines used to say, and no one remembers who comes second, and it resonates through all of us actually. That's 88. This must be 86.
These are amazing, they're comprehensive, aren't they?
Oh, they are. I just love looking through these. 85, we were actually, I
might just grab another camera and point it at the page. So what are we looking at?
85 is first bloody 2 or 3 games we played in 85. We'd under Hines, he worked us bloody hard pre-season, and we got off to a bit of a slow start, maybe a bit of a premiership hangover, whatever you want to call it. But we took a little bit to get going that year, and then.
So he told you about it?
Oh yeah. It's the Heinzie way for sure.
I remember the prelim final. I was only 15. Bruce Hines had told us all day not to kick the ball back through the middle. And I reckon it was third quarter, I was on a half-back flank, picked it up, thought, yep, there's turns, I'll hit him up. And I went back through the middle. Brian Ramsey marked, I went down and kicked a goal. Heinzie gave me a serve right there and then for going back through the middle. And I thought, yep, cool, done with. Got back into it 3/4 time into the huddle. As you said, there's a couple of thousand people there, so the huddle's quite a big crowd. And he has just ripped me a new one. I wasn't going getting the ball back near the middle for the rest of the day.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learnt, and since then I've been pretty much,
That seems like you remember it.
Oh yeah, no, fairly clearly.
But again, no, he really instilled stuff into us that even when you're left footy, in your day-to-day life, it sort of still carries on in different forms and fashions. But so 85, we got up and going. And
well, certainly this headline back here sort of sums up how you started. Cleve easily wins forgettable game.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't turn up quite that day.
No, we were a bit flat. A couple of those games. I mean, Cleve beat us, Dart Peak beat us in those first couple of games. Dart Peak, the very first game, actually gave us quite a touch-up.
Yeah, there was a bit of payback for the grand final.
Oh yeah, I'd say so, yeah. But, and then the following week, Cleve came out and gave us a bit of a bloody touch-up as well.
By 5.5 goals, so
yeah.
touch-up.
Considering
I see there's a Clements in there. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, you're right. Look, we also had. I reckon that's the first year Dave Fowler came along too. Chuck Fowler from down Ungara, and he was a gun. He was quick, hard, not necessarily hard, but if you get near him, but if you got in his way, he could go straight through you.
David Fowler, he played a real lot of centre in there. He was just so bloody fast. I can remember we'd have sprints. We'd usually finish off training with sprints. You'd start on your stomach, lying down, and line of us 6 all lined up and go, and everyone sprint from one side of the square to the other, and no one could ever catch Chuck.
You know he was only going 3/4.
Yeah, he just blew everyone away.
He's a sub 10 second sprinter if he wants to be.
Yeah, he could turn it on when he wanted to, but most of the time 3/4 was fast enough to blow anyone out of the water. So.
We're also getting a couple of young blokes like John Masters starting to play a bit of footy. Not sure if Chris Prime, no, Chris was a year after, I reckon. And so, 86, sorry. But got away with a couple of games early in the piece, a couple of good wins.
Starting to come good here. Well, of course, Arno Bay were probably not travelling real well at that point, but what about the week after? Oh, there you go, Dart Peak in the return game by 2 points.
Yeah, she was a close one. And then Cleve the week after that, where'd we go there? They got us again.
They did too, fairly easily.
Yeah. There, and then we had some big wins in amongst it. Again, poor old buddy Arno and Rudau, etc. took some bit of heat from us, but the 85 was one of these years we actually got ourselves up and going. We had a few injuries through the year, and then from that got to. I'm just trying to think. I reckon we played Dart Peak in a prelim final, if I remember rightly, and we were going okay, and then got to the grand final, and Gav Masters, who normally plays centre half back, he actually ended up breaking a bone in his ankle, and but kept playing.
Yeah,
Yeah, here we go with David Fowler, restricted after straining. A driver muscle at training, Rick Will, shoulder and flu, David head flu, Bruce Hines, concussed, Freeman unfit, and then it says, I broke my ankle just before half time, but come back on for the rest of the game, but wasn't any use. So yeah, that was we just had a bit of bad luck that year, we'll say, in 1985.
But you came back on.
Came back. Oh yeah, because we were that, we're in all sorts of trouble with injuries, and so they just sat me in the forward pocket, but they didn't do a hell of a lot.
Just say that. You kicked the goal, didn't you? It said.
No, I don't know about that.
Well, I think that's right.
It says there though.
I was reading it over your shoulder, sorry.
No.
Okay.
No, anyway, just...
That was back in the day when a broken bone wasn't going to stop you.
That's
kicking.
right, yeah.
Big Gav went all right, didn't he?
I remember I've watched a lot of Gav play, yeah. You just see this flash of red and then these big baseball mitts go up and he'd just pluck them every time. He'd just pluck them. I know, he used to take me to cricket. I was playing A grade with him. I hadn't been bloody, we'd have our compulsory few beers on the way home and he'd drop me off in the ute and fucking back to the old farmhouse, and I'd get out a bit bloody fuzzy all the time. It was good. He's a legend.
Bloke, of course, you played footy with.
Yeah, he's strong. They talk about John Humphreys and how good he was at centre half forward. Gav's been the bloke that I've watched time and time again over the years, but who could beat him? And just because of his strength, and without trying to outmark him or anything, it was just get the ball on the ground. Because John was great in the air, wasn't as good on the ground. Gav, you could play him centre half forward, centre half back. He's a tough old soul, Gav. No, good mate of mine, real good mate. But funny thing was I moved down to Great Flinders, and the very next year, and we're playing association footy, or more like Shield, and Gav was centre half back and I was centre half forward.
How'd you go?
I think Gav got the better of me, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, well, the Masters, they always go all right, don't they?
Oh, they do. They're very, very tough customers.
No, that's right. That was Heinz's first year as coach. He'd played in the 84, Premiership, and then in 85, Horney left, Stephen Horn, and Heinz took on the coaching. And he really installed a mental toughness into the team. Like, he'd had a lot of time at Norwood, and he was a real hard nut, Heinzie. He was a very skilled, great footballer, but he was a real hard nut, and he knew how to win. He sort of taught us how to intimidate the other teams quite a bit, and you just got that way that you knew you could beat them. We'd psych them out of it before the game even started. Really, we just. You could see the confidence that he could build in the group. You'd go through certain things in the change rooms and make sure they could hear you next door well and truly, and do the same thing out on the oval. And he was a master tactician as well, Heinzie. But he installed the toughness. I think he lost 85, he won 86 and 87 as coach, and then Rick Will took it on in 88. And he sort of continued on with Heinz's pretty tough mental approach. Rick was pretty tough as well. And they were very good mentors, those three coaches. Not to say that they didn't have something to work with beforehand. The guys that had been there had sort of been building up gradually, but they just came along at the right time. And
expected a bit more of it.
Yeah. I think most people you would talk to in my era, like Peter Prime or any of his brothers, would tell you that probably Bruce Hines was the one that really instilled the how to win into us. Yeah.
There's the prelim final score there. So we only just got over the top of Dart Peak.
Yeah, scores deadlocked at half-time, or 1 point the difference.
Big Gav there, I reckon, if I remember rightly. And so we got ourselves in the grand final, and from that, we just one of those days we just couldn't finish it off. So, but, like Heinzie says. No one remember who comes second.
So you've forgotten that one already?
Pretty much, yeah. We'll skip on to 86. It's another. Again, Heinzie's back on the reins, but he taking on, and again we picked up another couple of boys, handy players. David Head, again, a very solid, just on baller type thing.
Where was he from?
He coached out at Rudow, I reckon, the year before, was it?
I reckon he went to Rudow for a year, and he's from Wharminda, so
Yeah, we're a local lad, my next door neighbour. So.
Butch Kitson. Hetty must have left that year, I reckon. Kieran Masters, yeah, Kim Shepherd. But yeah, again, got over the top of Cleve, Dart Peak. We were this year, 86, I think, was probably one of our more telling years. When we won big. And yeah, we had some fairly crucial sort of games in amongst it. Same thing again. I reckon we got through mid-year, and I reckon we lost a couple of games mid-year. And from that, yeah, again, when everyone started shearing and all those sort of things, and getting on tractors, off tractors, yeah, he just took a bit of a fair old toll. That peak at Rudow. Yeah, that's right. But he
but they beat you in the what, the major semi or
second semi. Yep. So then we came up against Cleve in the, I reckon that was down at, where was that cow? Prelim final.
2,000 odd spectators.
She was bloody good years, those.
For a prelim.
Prelim final, yeah. But we gave, again, was it that game or was it another one? Heinzie, as I said, he's tough, but this one bloke had a bit of a crack at him, and anyway, Heinzie turned around, and this bloke's bloody standing up to Heinzie, and Heinzie just scratched onto his nose, just like this, and just took him down to his knees, and he said, oh, like this, and Heinzie just turned around to the umpire and said, you saw him, didn't you? Was it Philip Lighthouse, I reckon, from Far West? You saw him, Philip. It came out at me like a mad dog. He said, yes, Bruce, it's your free. Thank you. let his nose go, came back, had his kick. Oh, it was.
And umpires,
yeah.
But a bit more real too, yeah.
But Heinzie, he's one of the first ones I saw do the old buddy, the old...
Don't argue.
Don't argue. And it was just a quick slap in the chest and bang, and old Kurt should be out here on the wing, but he receiving a handball, and he was good, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Heinzie used to be as a schoolboy, he was a Golden Gloves state champ. So, yeah. He used to wear these glasses just for protection of his eyes because he had a bad eye injury before he came to Port Neill. And yeah, this one particular day, I won't mention any names, a bloke from Arno Bay, as it turned out, had a bit of a go at him and knocked his glasses off and that. And there was a very quick little movement and that bloke had finished his day.
Got to the grand final in about 86 and cleaned up Dart Peak.
And stormed home.
17-14 to 7-8.
Errol Duke, is that a pen name or a real bloke?
That's a real bloke. Errol used to work in the State Bank.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, he loved us.
And he was Mr. Football model.
Yeah, he got right in amongst it actually while he was here. But, no, again, that was a great year. Again, we were, I suppose, always going to be tough to beat, but I just considered that, you know, with the blokes that we didn't lose anyone from the previous year, and you know, with a couple of injuries, and we picked up another 1 or 2 blokes. Just trying to think, lost Hetty, but a couple of young blokes, so like Brenton Solly came up from Tumby Bay, and there's John Masters, Crispy Prime, you know, sort of came into it. Yep. We were lucky, like Andy Prime, like he was left footer, very, very good bloody user of the ball.
Great centreman, apparently.
Yep, very good centreman. We were lucky. Our on-ballers, I consider to be probably the best in the association for all those years. In Andy Prime, Michael Perkins, Heinze, then you throw in like Brad Davies on a wing, a couple of others. But at half-back line, again, you know, it was bloody just run all day and just didn't concede bugger all. Mick Will, cousin Mick, he played full-back. He was just run hard the boys, 6'2" or something, and you know, pretty mobile, good left footer. Just trying to think, David Fowler, he's the other bloke I was thinking about in the centre. He was just go, go, go.
It's not like they were playing for big money up here at the time?
No, no money at that time of the year, those years. I got offered $100 a game to go down and play for Tumby Bay. Yep. One of these years, I think it might have been 86 actually.
Yep.
Because
there was a little bit of money around Great Flinders at that time.
Yeah, it was just enough to sort of encourage a few to have a bit of a dip at it, I suppose. But 87's not there.
Our son Peter was in a team.
Pardon?
Our son Peter was in a team, and the scores were level, and it was the end of coming up. So he marked the ball. It was a fair way out. Somebody yelled out to him, "Kick the goal, Pete," and he turned around and kicked it straight through the middle.
Wow. No, that was at Rudall.
Yeah, I can still see him standing there and sort of, what do I do?
I disagree. I reckon that was a dark Pete. Pretty certain. Yeah.
20 written on the
and he used to always play in the half-back line, and he found himself at half-forward about, there wasn't a 50 at the time, and took the mark and drilled it in the last quarter. I don't know about scores being levels, but it certainly helped the situation.
And Peter was only...
He was only just, it's his first year.
About his first or second year he played.
It was his first year.
And...
all the Port Neill people standing around him, "Peter, just kick the goal."
He did.
Peter was...
Terrific. I think that was the year that Rick Will, he had, must have got cleaned up and stuffed his shoulder up, but still went on and took marks, and he just could kick one around the body from miles out to put us out. Rick was bloody tough too, because pain didn't mean anything to him. He'd just still get out there and go and do what was required. You weren't going to go off because your shoulder was a bit sore in a grand final. No, he was a bloody hard man too.
What's this one? 1988. This was a big year.
What was big about it?
Well, I don't think they lost a game. And they were clearly the best team. The budgets were just whoever did them for the week, and
So all sorts of design inputs.
Oh.
These are pretty precious, though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely one-off, irreplaceable gems.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But trying for the hat trick.
So 88, the last year at Port Neill.
Yeah, this is the year I coached. And
how did you come to coach?
Well, Heinzie, he moved. No, he didn't. No, he gave up. He retired from footy. He and Mike Freeman both bloody retired from footy at the same time. Mick Freeman's half-back flanker. His father won a bloody male medal years and years ago, if I remember rightly.
Michael Freeman, yeah, Evan's uncle. He's played in 3, was it? 4. 4?
Three didn't play the
Did you
last
retire the last one?
That was at number 6.
Yep.
Heinzie said, no, he's had enough. And anyway, so I put my hand up and got the job. Very lucky, and I keep saying that with Horney the first year down here as a coach, Heinzie to, I suppose, instill a lot into the players that were already there as well. We picked up 1 or 2 other pretty handy players, if I remember rightly. What does it say? I do a replacement for both past coach Bruce Hines, took the club into 3 grand finals.
An ideal replacement.
Yeah, apparently. But it was weird, you know, all of a sudden you've got the helm and the reins of it. And
big shoes.
Yeah, bloody oath, especially after the previous 4 years.
Yeah, you didn't want to fail.
No, not particularly. I didn't like losing, that's for sure.
At the completion of the first round, this was the story. A grade, Peter Prime, Port Neill 29, Chris Prime 23.
At the end of the which round?
At the completion of the first round in 1988.
So after 4 games?
Yeah. I don't think, the strength of Port's forward line was evident with Peter Prime and Michael Perkins kicking 9 goals each, and C Prime and B Bear 8 goals each.
This year especially, we got to a grand final with pretty much not a great deal different from the previous year. Other clubs have picked up a few, lost a few type thing, but...
And a lot of the players retired after 1998. I don't think Peter played for Arno at all, did he? He played
I think
B
he
grade.
did last year.
Did he?
He played A grade, I think.
But Chris...
Port wouldn't have had a B grade or a Colt had they gone on. They were, so lucky in numbers. So we were lucky to win that last premiership.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor old Arno, they struggled there for a number of years and took some fairly big hidings, but
But they had a golden patch when Peter Wren was around.
Exactly right, yeah.
He was a hard man, Peter.
Yeah, he's the
And a big
same,
man.
6'4", won a male medal in 1964. He got his goal umpired for I don't know how many years, and you know his son that played for the Crows anyway, Sean.
But Peter could really play.
Yeah, he was a big tall fella, loped along, and he rucked down the Mutlot with another bloke called David Masters for years. Him and David rucked in the County Jurors side.
He could play footy. You can see where his son Sean got it from.
Youngest lad Sean played the year for us when he came back from college before he went over in West Adelaide. poached him, and then I reckon, by the next year he was playing for the Crows. So, yeah, I remember when he was here, he was only a kid, but he was unbelievable. God.
Why did he play for Westies, not Port?
Westies? Oh, why did he?
Yeah, because it's Port area.
Well, what happened was he went to college at Emmanuel, and Emmanuel, there was a lot of guys here that used to barrack for West Adelaide, you see.
Yeah.
And then he looked at the Westies list of juniors, and the list they had at Port, and they had 60 boys at Port Adelaide and about 44 or something at Westies. So he approached Westies to get a game there because he thought there's a better chance of getting the run.
He's probably right. Yeah.
So a couple of years later, he was playing his only few games at home, and he's playing in the Mortlake Shield, and the game was over, and the Port Adelaide scout came in to talk to him about playing for Port Adelaide. But he's already committed to
already playing
Westies.
juniors for Westies.
I remember another instance when I was an EP selector with Sean Wren.
Oh yeah.
Before he went to Adelaide.
Yep.
We picked him in the EP squad, but we never picked him in the final team.
I reckon he played Mortlock, and they didn't pick him in the EP side, because I reckon I've got a Mortlock photo of him there with him in it.
And the end of that year, he went to West Adelaide. West Adelaide. And played a couple of reserves games there. And then away he went.
There you go.
He ended up a very good footballer.
Yeah, so it didn't hurt him missing out?
No, but he was built like that. He was only about, I don't know, probably 17 or 18 then, I suppose.
Yep.
We had two other pretty good ruckmen anyway. We thought he was probably a bit light. Only a kid, so we left him out. Got a few ribbons over that.
And so that same year, he was back playing footy at West anyway.
Yeah, right.
Well, in 1990, he came home and we put the crop in, and then started the shearing in July, and there's a thing called the Kinnard Cup.
Yeah.
Over there.
Under 15s or something?
That's under 18s, yeah.
Oh, under 18s.
Underage, it's under 17s, I think.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the day that the Kinnard Cup was going to be played on Eyre Peninsula, he flew to Adelaide, courtesy of Westies, and had a game in their reserves.
Yeah, right.
And then the following week they called him up for another game in reserves, and the next week they put him up in the A's.
Yeah, right.
So he played the last 5 or 6 games of the season for Westies' bloody senior side, and on the last game of the year hurt his knee a bit, and then he hurt it a bit the next year, and then it collapsed the next year. So he had a bit of a bad run to the knee, but that's how he came to be at Westies. And he only played a season with West, and then he was in the Crows squad as their 52nd pick.
Yeah, right.
Against 52. See, when the Crows went into the competition, they were allowed 52 for their squad, and he was the final pickup, and that's why he wore number 52. He's the last one they got.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. He did all right too.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You don't have to tell me about that.
The final game of the year, he's best on the ground against North Melbourne.
Yeah.
In that was 91. Yeah.
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 But he was no different footballer doing that than what he was here. Now it's a fine line, I reckon. You can play country football, but if you can make that next step. And the way he played his footy was exactly the same there as what it was here. So
he probably played. In fact, he was a big guy. He was actually pretty tough in his approach to footy, probably just like his old man.
Yeah, he was very similar to his dad.
Yeah. But who was the better footballer, Sean or Peter?
Oh, well, Peter perhaps never had the opportunities that Sean did, but
he won a male medal, and Arno Bay won a lot of premierships too.
Can I just tell you a little incident on the oval? Should leave it there, but anyway, I was coaching Cow North in 1966, and there was a man in goals was called Bob Atkinson, and there's a big 6'4" ruckman for Arno Bay, Peter Wren was his name, he was playing and he mistreated Bob Atkinson, so Greg thought he'd settle that. So he comes straight into Rennie and put 2 fists like that. And next thing I saw, Greg running across the oval and Rennie was chasing him.
I was only a kid. I remember that as the deacons and things down here.
That's the truth of it. I thought, geez, this bloke's going to kill me. I didn't get afforded either.
Peter, I did hear a story the other day from the Cow North coach, Greg, about being at this ground many years ago.
Yeah.
And having a little altercation. You'd recall that?
With Greg Mullins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, it was a very windy day and the wind was blowing straight down the ground.
Yeah.
And we were trying to work the ball up this flank. And I took a mark and there's a little fella called Bobby Schultz for standing the mark. And I virtually ran through him and just kept on going, you see. And when I took my kick up here somewhere, Mullins come out of the sun, and I could see this bloody ball of a man. He had his knees up and his elbows up, and he caught me on the shoulder, like he leapt and stuck me a beauty. Anyway, as it turned out, he knocked me down, but it didn't hurt me. But so then I got up and chased him. And about out in the middle somewhere, I caught him, and I had him by the throat, and our captain coach come and pulled me off. So it's a good thing he did, otherwise I bloody would have been rubbed out for the season.
Good on you, thanks very much. That's what you were talking about the other
That's
night.
about what
Yeah,
happened.
I was coaching that year. That was in '66. He was chasing Mullins, and Mullins got him, and Mullins ran away, and he caught him. Because Mullins wouldn't be in it. Like, he'd hit somebody, and then he'd go on and play football, and they'd go on chasing Gregor.
59, I wasn't too flash. I was still a pretty light kid and still growing, and I got to say, probably a bit timid too. But a year later, I was anything but.
Peter Wren got reported for a match.
Yeah.
It was against a bloke from Port Neill, actually. Peter went up and took a mark, and this bloke drove his knees and just drove him straight into the ground, and Peter just stood up, put the ball on the ground, went smack. The tribunal, did you hit him? Yep. Right, match, but fair.
And I sort of transformed, I suppose, from a boy to a man in 1 year virtually. And we won the premiership in 60, lost the grand final 61, won it again in 62, had 2 years off, then did 3 in a row.
That's 1965. You've heard about the draw, did you?
No, go on.
Yeah. And they had to put the grand final back a week, and we lost. We lost them.
What year was that?
Oh, probably 65.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, Arno Bay. We're third, Arno Bay's top.
Mm-hmm.
But I reckon we bowled over Port Neill, and then we drew with Arno Bay and had a replay a week later, and they beat us by about 2 goals, I think. I don't know whether this is in here or not.
Whereabouts was that?
On the Cleve.
Oh, they were all on Cleve. Jerboys at that stage, is that right?
No.
No? Or they shifted them around?
They shifted them around, but I think that was on the Cleve. Arno Bay home by a point at Cow. When's that? 1965.
And then, of course, that one in 74 was a good bit later, but I played in, I think it was 7 grand finals, we won 5 of them. I think it was, yeah.
Which is probably round about the time that Port Neill were winning premierships too.
Yeah, well, they won 2, but they never won another one until 84 or 5. And of course, we were weak as piss then. And they used to, we used to flog them for 10 years, and then they come back and flogged us for a bit. Then just before the amalgamation, they were really making a meal of us.
Yeah, look. Arno Bay was had a pretty bloody good history, but we were lacking numbers. And like Baz Artwig said to me one day, he said, you know, don't worry about it too much, you just can't make strawberry jam out of shit. But our very last game we played again, and it was against Port Neill, and we lost by 40 goals, I reckon.
Yeah, really?
I can remember that. I reckon it was the last minor round game in '88. Yeah. We played Arno Bay. Port Neill played Arno Bay. We played Monano, and I don't know, we won by, must have been 40 odd goals in the end, but I can remember at half time, Fricky was actually the coach. He didn't even let them inside, he kept them out in the oval, and they just had to run through handball and then kicking for the whole of half time.
That's harsh.
That was harsh.
Yeah, our guys couldn't mark, they couldn't kick, couldn't handball. Like, what do you do?
Yeah. Because they were pretty handy at that time. They won the premiership that year, didn't they?
Yeah.
In '88.
Yeah, 86, 87, 88. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Ports.
Should have won. Well, we were in the final in '89, but like Gavran did his knee in the preliminary final. I did my knee in the last minor round. So you take your centreman and your number one ruckman out. Well, it takes a bit of it. We lost by what did we lose by? About 24 points, I reckon. 4 goal, I reckon. Yeah.
Actually, I remember that first year at Ports. You know, we'd won 3 premierships. The Port Neill and the Arno Bay boys were getting flogged, but probably their 2 best players were Gavin Wren, like Pete's son, and David Frick. They were probably the 2 best players that Arno had, and they both got knee injuries, like season-ending knee injuries that year. So, yeah, that was a fair blow in that first year too, when one of the 2 that got away. Yeah.
All right. Well, what I was going to ask you about is how you did your knee for starters.
Kicking the football.
What? Just kicking it? You must have kicked it bloody hard.
No. Well, it was my left knee, so I kicked it right, and as I was landing, just hitting the deck, someone come through and took me out through here.
Yeah, I had exactly the same thing happen actually. Yeah, from the side.
Should have been a 50 metre, or should have been down the field. Did right. It was right on half time. Last minor round game.
Last minor round, geez, and you was having a good year too.
Was not too bad.
He was a brilliant footballer, Fricky. Yeah, very balanced. Yeah, both 2-sided player.
I'll be talking to him.
Just had knee problems.
Yeah. What's that first year of the?
It was an arse. But anyway, that's where it goes.
Shit happens. Certainly, the merger was a good thing for.
Oh, it was one of the best
for the
things.
town.
Oh, just for the whole district. Great thing.
The whole community's reliant on farming. It's all our enterprise, so we all talk the same language. Yeah. And I got to say that I've got no regrets about ever, because I was the president of the Arno Bay Club when I made the moves to do this amalgamation, and Johnny Chilman was the Port Neill president. I rang him 3 or 4 times before we got any meetings set up.
What happened, when we amalgamated, I was mixed up with the club. We had a meeting at Arno Bay, and they had some chairman from Cleve area somewhere came to chair the meeting. And okay, we decided to amalgamate, and so what Guernseys we're going to have. And they said, well, you used to be black and white, we're black and white, so let's be black and white. Well, we had all these new Hawthorn Guernseys, only a year, couple year old. And I said, well, I think the Hawthorn Guernseys are so good, and we've got full sets of them, we should go Hawthorn. And the other chap I was with thought, well, he backed me up. It should be Hawthorn.
Well, yeah, I was part of those committee meetings, and so was Adrian. And the president, the new president of the club, the amalgamated club, I think was Johnny Chilman for the first year. But now I don't most of them don't identify with either club when they come to the overarching, because the football club itself is a committee that stands above the 2 community areas, because we've got responsibilities about our own clubs, but when it comes to running of the football club, it's a committee that is composed of both, and they look at the team itself and not so much the facilities. Arno's got, we've probably got the best club rooms, but I think Port Neill has probably got the best ground, to play on.
That's a mongrel kick from Dion.
Sure is.
Socket
forward, Max Bowser picks up for Ports, heads out wide. Corey Ainsworth takes a good mark and plays on.
The mark, he's off.
He's taking a bounce, but he's hit a patch of dirt. She didn't come back. He got boot the ball in the end.
He recovered well, really, didn't he? He recovered well.
Yeah.
Riley Maitland takes the mark. Off to Reece Racing. Once again, those 2 have been pretty strong all day again for the Tigers.
Yeah, out to Fitzgerald on the leg.
Oh, it's a good
nice
kick. Beautiful
nice
kick again
hands.
by Reece Racing. not much Caleb could do about that.
No, very unlucky for Ainsworth. He must have bounced on a patch of sand and the ball just didn't come back to him. Yeah, it's been an effort getting these ovals up because she's very, very dry all across the state.
But I never, you know, the spirit of the agreement's always held. No one has ever said, oh, we're going to have to play or this oval or that oval. We get half the home games a year. And we have alternate finals when the rotation comes around. So we only get a finals game every quite a few years. We get the finals, but we make the most of it.
Yeah, I dare say.
You know, I'm not aware of any bitching over all the last 30 years about one or other club hasn't been pulling its weight, because I think we've really tried to make it work.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Adrian said that when he came to, because the vote was split, and he said do another count, and he put his hand up.
We had Graham Roberts was one of our delegates, and the discussion was getting a bit heated, and Ruth said, look, I think we'll all better adjourn for 5 minutes. So we all stood up and bloody walked and stretched our legs and had a bit of quiet discussion, and went back and sat again, and you know, I'm pleased it was doing because that was the only problem we ever had to get around.
The chairman, I think, was Steve Trigg or somebody, I forget now. Brian Trigg, I think, was intermediate chairman. He said, what are we going to do now? I said, put it to the vote again. All those in favour of black and gold? Black and white. Black and white. 2 Arno Bays put their hand up, and I put my hand up. I knew we would not amalgamate unless we could get some sense. And the guy that was with me, he was the only one that voted that we stick with the old colours. I'd have loved to have stayed with the Hawthorn colours, but they had all the Guernseys we needed anyway at Arno Bay, and so they've been black and white ever since.
Oh, where's the sliding in roll?
Well, I think it might be. I think it might ping in for that. It's always a hard one, that one. Tommy Davey gets the free from Nick Collins, who slid in, took his legs out.
Sid's got looks inboard, finds Cooper Llewellyn.
This guy's on
square.
On his own all the time at the minute, he's young Cooper.
Who's he going to go? Are you going to bomb it long to the top of the square?
It's a high ball.
And Brooks
Seals. Good mark by Brooks Seal on the chest.
Sat in the hole and done it well.
It's a famous name too, Peter.
Yes, yeah, no, it is a famous name. Brooks' dad, Gio, was a terrific player for our club. Sadly no longer with us. But yeah, the Seal family is a big name in the Kimber district.
Play on the cool. Handball over the top. Bishop. Oh, Kimber boy.
Come out the back.
Fist in there. Bishop has it now. Flicks across. Jake Mammon bangs it on the boot. It's going to work. Lenny McDonough.
Yeah, young bloke on the flank. Forward flank for Ports.
He's looking good. He looks inboard.
Oh, it's a good kick. Oh, cut off well by Riley, mate, because that was a beautiful kick. Looked like Sid was going to swallow that.
Turner gets a fist in.
Oh, he did that.
Oh. Advantage! Advantage!
I think he'd play advantage. It was a great goal.
Oh, you've got to play advantage. That is.
I think he is.
He's paid it.
Yes.
Now, common sense has prevailed.
No, that's a good goal.
Very good little snap kick. Would have been interesting if the ball hit the post, what he would have done.
Well,
I'm sure the Ports crowd would have
said, bring
been calling
it back
the other way.
I'm sure they would have. No, it was a good goal, that, in the finish by the young bloke.
So Jake Turner kicked that, who first year in A grade, first proper year in A grade. He actually won the best on ground in the Colts grand final last year.
Yeah,
got a bit of talent.
Those young blokes last year for Ports who went through undefeated, I think, in the Colts competition last year. Certainly, you know, it's good to see him playing A grade, and I'm sure they'll have a big impact on the club this year.
They wanted to keep their Hawthorn one for a start, and then we compromised. We said, look, we'll call the club Ports, and we've got new Guernseys that are going to cost the club nothing because we had a full set of all new Guernseys, thanks to Llewellyn Transport sponsorship. And so then they're happy, then they come on board with that, and that's how he took off.
I guess Arno Bay were black and white, so, and we called ourselves Ports, which we're both seaports, I suppose, but we were Port Neill, so Ports, and their colours, which were our colours. It was a pretty easy sort of a fit, really. Yeah.
So there you go, buddy. What's that? 34-27 to 7-5 against Arno. So she's, what's that, 50, 61 bloody scoring shots to 12.
Mind you, their Colts were looking all right.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were pretty good Colts actually back then.
And Port Neill didn't have too many juniors at that stage. Arno still had a few juniors.
That's why they were keen to do the merger, I gather.
But it was great. And I mean, the whole thing, like, there's two seaside towns, call the place Ports, black and white jumpers. I mean, Port Neill used to be white and black. It's a bit weird, but and then they went to Hawthorn colours. But it just seemed pretty logical. That was Scott's going. This has not been recorded, right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake, I thought we missed out.
No. We started when I was setting that up, you see, because you were nice and relaxed, you see. That was good, wasn't it?
Easy.
There you are, just about done now.
Yeah. Now I can do my ears.
Yeah. You see, that's what the red light means, yeah.
Means we're on. We're on. Perfect.
We're on, perfect. Yeah.
Look, both were ports in its time. Like Port Neill, Arno Bay was a port. So hence came around to being ports, black and white. It just sort of fell into place, really.
And we've really had a pretty good relationship for 30 years with the amalgamation. I mean, you know, I've been involved with a club that's been 30 years with Ports, and I wasn't involved with Arno Bay for that long because, you know, I'm 77 pretty soon. And
were you goal umpire in that grand final they won a couple of years ago?
No, hang on, no, I wasn't. I was timekeeping that day.
Which would have been great.
No, I was timekeeping. That was pretty good. Yeah, I was timekeeping for that.
Was there much recruiting in that particular
Yeah, so that year we'd had an OK side before then, and Adam Davey coached the year before, and he'd come back from Adelaide. He was living in Lincoln, ex-Port Neill local. He's about a year older than me.
That's Adam.
Adam, that's his, yeah.
Sort of a little bit deja vu-ish with 20 years prior or something like that.
Yeah, I think prior to that, the last time we'd played in the grand final and lost, that one that we were talking about, my brother John was the captain. On this one, Brad was the captain. I was the president, and this one, Ash was the president. There was one other tie up there too, but I can't remember.
So the coach actually. So
Scuzz, Adam's father, coach, got to a grand final. And then Adam's gone and done the same, but
it was in the 2000s. I don't know, it was 2005. Or
2000. I reckon it was 2003.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
My first year in senior footy.
Yeah, we talked him into coaching again, and then Luke Harfield, another ex-local from Port Neill, he flew from Adelaide every week into Lincoln, stayed with Adam, come down and played, and he actually won best on in the grand final.
Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Harfield. Apparently you spent a bit of time here 2017.
Yeah, in and out.
In and out?
Every week, pretty much.
Just hold on to that one.
You're up.
Yeah, so tell me about, quickly, can you take your hat off for us? It's just a bit of a shout out there. Yeah, thanks mate. So tell me quickly about Ports and who are the people there who run the show?
Well, when I first moved there, probably Gavin Masters was one of the main ones, Peter Prime, and yeah, obviously Chris Prime was there when I was there. He was probably one of the key players. Jace Ramsey come back that year. Glenn Tonkin, they recruited pretty well that year when I first went there.
Which
would have been 2003, I reckon, when we actually lost the grand final that year. That wasn't when I played a couple of years of junior football there, and then 2003 was the year that they recruited real well, and we made the grand final, and we actually beat Kimber at home at Port Neill in the semi-final by about 10 goals, and then we had to play Kimber at Kimber in the grand final, and they stitched us up. I think it was about 16 points in the end. Yeah.
And he was, real driving force, and Adam was just so enthusiastic, like his enthusiasm sort of rubbed off, and we had a couple of our mates from Lincoln playing, and my brother Sid.
His brother's had a knee reconstruction. He's the one that played for Port Adelaide seconds the year before last. And he's one of the reasons we won the grand final that season, the season before last.
Yeah, we'll tell
so
you
the
about
previous
that grand
season
final.
he played for Port Adelaide.
Because that was pretty amazing.
Well, he played with a buggered knee as well. And then he didn't do anything about it through the summer, and he went to begin last season, in the first bloody game of the years off with a cruciate bloody meteoric, what do they call it?
It wasn't the first game of the season, it was a trial game he did it in, and so not a single bloody game out of him for the year, and it's still not good. So.
Gabbo had a knee. How many's Ashley done? 3?
He's done a couple, at least. Sid one, yeah.
Brad's the only healthy one?
No, it's some people just get a bit lucky with injuries. I don't know what it is.
I think he's about 22 or 3 or something. Good lad.
Should have a lot of footy in him, really.
Well, apart from the knee, because Ashley's had tremendous trouble with his knees.
Yeah.
And his old man did the knee as well.
Yeah, here we go, Bishop. Bishop wins the tap.
Yeah, he's clearly winning the taps, isn't he? Well above his Isaiah Neill for Kimber.
Ah, yeah. Young lad.
Young lad, rucking.
Yeah. Holding the ball.
Good tackle by Ports.
That's Jake Bammon, actually. Paul Bammon's lad. He won the Senior Colts male medal last year.
And he is a chip off the old block of his dad, Paul, who's coaching your team.
Yeah, he's a little bit too fearless, actually, Jake.
Yeah, he's a very good player.
Yeah, there's a few of them lads that have come up from the Colts Premiership last year. Cooper Llewellyn, Jake Bammon and Jake Turner.
Yeah, well, there's certainly, like I said, a lot of young players playing out here today, which is great to see.
Ball in, Port's forward flank on the 50. Llewellyn's in there, gets it out, no. Gonna see a lot of this, aren't we?
Yeah, a lot of ball ups today.
stoppages.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things go today with the new rules that are in place today. See how the players adapt to that as well.
Yeah, Davey out the back, bangs it on the boot, and
It's still
Masters
in.
got it. He's
tiptoed around him.
He's check-sided.
Well,
and he's kicked it.
Well, that's quite a
Ports
goal.
are on the board.
That's an Eddie Betts goal there.
That was. I'm going to hear about that all week at work.
That was a very good goal, that's for sure. So Ports get their first goal on the board. To the guy that normally plays centre half back and one of the best backmen you've seen, that was certainly a great kick.
Yeah, he played a bit of junior footy up forward, a lot of junior footy up forward, and then when he was over in Adelaide became a bit of a backman.
And then we probably thought we were never going to win a premiership, to be honest. We'd missed out on those 2 chances that we had, and then 2017, Ash was actually president, his first year as president of the club, and we won the premiership. It was unbelievable. Yeah. So the three boys were playing in the side, Ash, Brad and Sid, and
I think that was the thing with the recruiting. The players that came in were all from, majority of them were from Port.
I coached nearly all of them as Coles.
So you weren't recruiting strangers back to the club, like you're recruiting like people back to your club rather than outsiders.
So Peter's son Caleb played in it. There was another Masters, Scott Masters, which is Adrian would be his grandfather. Peter is his dad.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Another bloke that Evan Hunt that lives out here, but his parents are more his grandfather's more Port Neill, isn't he? His dad
right.
never played footy. He come from New Zealand, but his dad was a Freeman from Port Neill that actually won a couple of, or his grandfather was.
Roger, not Roger, and the two Freeman brothers at Port Neill. They were good players. Very good. Lawrence and Ronald, good players. All-time greats at Port Neill.
They played in those premierships?
They would have, yeah.
Yeah, they were.
That'll be in there.
They were in the era before us. They weren't. Yeah, obviously. But
Lawrence won a couple of male medals, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Lawrence and Ron. I think Lawrence won 4 male medals. He was in my dad's era. Lawrence was, and Ron was just a little bit younger. But yeah, Lawrence was just exquisitely skilled. You know, listen to my old man talk about him, and that's his grandson Evan Hunt that played in the premiership side.
Yeah, Evan he hadn't played since about the middle of the year actually that year, and his ankle foot was no good, and he actually come back in and played in the Grandy. And probably tagged one of Kimber's better players. He started on the bench. This guy kicked probably the first goal of the game and looked like, oh geez. And Evan went on to him and shut him right down, and probably would have never won if he didn't play. My brother Sid, who decided to come home on the farm that year, so he was come straight out of the Port Magpies, and his next game was for us, so a few things sort of fell into line, didn't it?
Eastern Air numbers around the footy have been good. They've been beating Great Flinders Bull. Rakawasa gets a tap now. Goes down to Wycamp. Wycamp gets it on to...
Clay Smith had the ball, took it to Jake Bruce, who brings the ball in.
Looking for... Oh, good mark. Yes, the big fella. Big fella, Sid Masters, reels on his left, looking for Berger, puts it out in front of him, lovely kick. Yeah, beautiful kick. That's 2 in a row he's done there. Big Sid Masters looking for Berger, coming out, leading strongly. His direct opponent fell over, gave Berger an easy mark. Now he'll have a shot about 20 metres out, an important kick with a quarter nearly gone.
But you still only finished third.
Yeah, we did only finish third. We beat everyone during the year. It was a real 4-team comp, but it was really close year that you didn't know who was going to win on the day, did you?
No, it was great.
Everyone beat everyone that year. It was
great for competition.
Yeah, well, that year in itself was probably the best for a 4-team comp. Each side could beat each side.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been the case all the time. You know? There's a gap between top and bottom, if you know what I mean. Might be a bit of a mix up in the middle, but that was probably the best season we've had.
Yeah,
so
because they came from third, of course.
Yep.
And like you say, all 4 teams had their wins.
Yeah, and come from third, and the first semi-final at half-time they were 5 goals down.
We were 5 goals down at half-time, and we'd had a bit of a habit of going out in that first semi when we probably shouldn't have, but well, you know, being on the line and 5 goals down, and yeah, we come back and ended up winning by 9 points. Hit the front with about 2 minutes to go, I think, and yeah.
Semi-final we played Cow at Rudau, and we were actually 5 goal down at half time, and yeah, we come back and we won by, I think Ashmasters kicked a couple of late goals and we won by about 10 points. Yeah.
Really? You didn't tell me about that?
Yeah, Mullet, he kicked a couple of good goals. He was, played well. He wasn't going to play at the start of the year, but yeah, we pulled the boots on him, and he did quite well.
That's good.
Yeah.
It was probably just the shake-up you needed, really, wasn't it? But yeah.
I was going to say, it's probably not a bad thing actually in that situation. You know, if you are used to losing those games, to be 5 goals down at half time, the adrenaline is like, it's not going to happen again.
Yeah,
and
that's
then you
right.
come out and but what happened after that?
Yeah, that's definitely like you said. Our coach actually credits that to, a lot of people credit that to why we won the grand final. We had a cruise through that game. But yeah, the next time we played Rangers at Arno in the prelim, and once we hit the front from the second quarter, we steamrolled them, sort of probably 8-10 goal win. And that was probably the best footy we played all year, and in front of our home crowd at Arno. And
obviously it worked out well. The year that I went back, the same thing, they recruited quite well, and a couple of my mates ended up going back there, Matt Parker, and we won a few games early, but we got belted a few games early as well, and no one really thought that we could win. And then come that final series, everyone played desperate, and we got over the line that Cow game. And then we probably our best game of the year was probably the game we beat Rangers at Arno Bay. And everything clicked that day, and then come grand final day, we just, we played, outplayed them and held on, and it was good.
Fantastic, really good. Thanks very much.
No worries.
That's my fans there. Thanks
Beautiful.
very much, brother.
Thank you very much.
That's all I wanted.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we were heading for the Grandy, and then next week, Grandy at Cow against Kimber, who were probably favourites. We'd beaten them once during the year. Probably first game of the year, they rolled us by probably 12 to 15 goal. Probably did it again up at Kimber by 10 goal. But yeah, we come out and we were 4 goal up at half time, and everything was going quite well. And
it's one of those things where you're just watching it surreal. You think, this can't be happening. You refuse to let yourself get excited, because being in grand finals and lost, and that's not much fun. And you think, and you just don't want to believe that it's going to happen until it actually did happen. So it was, think, oh God, here we go again. But it's out of our control this time. There's nothing I can do about it except watch and hope.
kicked the first goal of the third, and
Everything's going very well.
Everything was going very well. We were sort of 5 goal up, and we thought, geez, this is just going to be like last week. We're going to roll over them here, but Kimber, pretty good side.
The Kimber have got a habit of finding a way to win games.
Yeah, come back, got to within 2 points at one stage, and Yeah, we ended up winning by, I think, 9 points that week too. 8 or 9 points, yeah. We kicked the last goal of the game to put us up again, and
just to see it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Then after that, she was on. Roy, she was on.
But you could see the energy change on the oval, like when that goal kick, our team lifted, Ports lifted, and you could see that they just dropped. They dropped, and when they rang, our guys basically sprinted back to the centre, and they were like struggling back in. You know, we didn't realise there wasn't that much time left, but it was just such a significant thing, that goal. Had he not kicked that goal, well, yeah, if there had been a point, they probably had time to score some. Then they probably would have had the energy, but that just sapped them. They thought, oh no. But it was surreal. Like, I remember being on the side and no one, everyone just sat there and gasped because no one could believe it had actually happened. No one knew what to do. Like, you know, it's not like normally everyone would run in and grab each other and jump, but there was a delay of like, probably seemed like a couple of minutes, and then everyone's slowly singing in, hey, we've won this. You know, it can't be true. We've actually won. Whoa, we better get excited, you know. It was surreal. It was just, yeah. It was incredible.
Almost like a bit of shock.
Yeah, it was. It just everyone sat there.
I was exactly the same. With the siren went, and you just stood there for a minute, just thinking what happened.
She's pretty nail-biting for everyone watching it, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, tell me about watching it.
Well, you know, your heart's just in your mouth. You got a club with about a 30-year history that's. Probably 28-year history that's never won a premiership. We've had two that got one that really got away, and we're looking like we're sitting pretty early in the third quarter, and then when they came back at us and
you're feeling sick as well.
Got within a few points in the last quarter, it was like, oh no, we can't lose this again. You know, it's never meant to be us win a premiership, you know. But the boys came through for us, so.
Kimber they were hot favourite pretty well for that grand final, but there was a little bit of a quiet confidence that we were going to do it. Like Adam sort of installed that in us that you know we're going to win this. We had that bit of a vibe before the grand final.
He'd built a good belief, hadn't he?
Yeah.
Had you believing in yourself?
And like you said, especially after that against Cow in the first semi-final, we probably should never have won that game. You know, country footy clubs don't often come back from 5 goals down at half time.
But you did.
We did. Yep.
Just hold that for a second.
It's me and you, mate.
I'd just like to echo what Luke said a bit. Fantastic day here at Cow. We're lucky to play in a really well-run league, led by Spud and co. commiserations to Gadge and the boys. We knew you'd be the measuring stick this year. So yeah, commiserations. To our boys, this is the reward for effort of starting in February. All our nights away from families, loved ones, all the hours on the road, all the hours I've been yelling at you. Here it is. This is for everyone at Ports who's never been a part of one, so come get some.
Yeah, just a big thanks to everyone who made it out today, not just the Ports crowd, but all the other clubs. Great turnout and great game of footy today. Gadge and the Kimber boys, commiserations, you know. We knew you were going to come and you did in that third quarter and you almost had it there. So congratulations on a great year, and also to Rangers and Cow, you know. Great year from both of those sides. We might only have a 4-team comp, but the standard of footy that gets played here is pretty bloody good, I reckon. So to our guys, bloody great effort, boys, you know. We might not have the biggest club or the best facilities, but I think today goes to show the calibre of people we got around the place, running the show, on and off the field. Let's make sure we celebrate this one properly, eh?
There was a fair bit of hair getting burnt off, and
yeah, not many people had hair.
Have you got your beeper button ready?
Luke Harrowfield is an animal. He wasn't a real animal that after that grand final. We went into the pub Tuesday night or something like that, and he's still in his footy Guernsey and carrying on and lager, and then drinking fire trucks or something by the gallon. And for some reason they decided it'd be pretty funny to use a lighter and some deodorant and burn people's the back, all the hairs off people's legs and their footy shorts. And Luke Harrowfield, and somebody come behind Luke and went in the back of his head and set it on fire, the bit that he had left. Oh God, the bar just stunk of burnt hair. He is a party animal, just unstoppable with things that he does.
Then even the week after, we had a Premier's premiere at the Arno Hotel where he was putting on the public, and Fricky put on the first keg, and then I reckon you bought the second keg, and we watched the game back first time, and then we had a victory dinner, and then we had, but yeah, I think.
No, it was great, especially, it was a real, it was for everyone in the club, that win, you know. A lot of people had put in a lot of effort over a lot of years. Fair enough, those 20, 21 guys are the ones that did it, but yeah, it really rewarded a lot of people, that premiership. It was fantastic.
Especially against Kimber.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Dear.
Yeah. Rightio, start off, number 18, Tyrone Bishop. Number 3, Ross Campbell. Number 6, Tommy Clark. Number 10, the big fella next to me, Adam Davey. Number 5, Tom Davey. Number 4, Matthew Dodd. Number 16, Bailey Dunning. Number 2, Max Bowser. Number 17, Bongo Hanneman. Number 27, Juddy Hanneman. Number 11, Skinny Harrowfield. Number 8, Benny Leanett. Number 23, Ash Masters.
Number 21, Scott Masters. 14, Matt Parker. 12, Jaron Price. 19, Caleb Prime. 13, Brad Wake. Number 7, Evan Hunt. And 22, our captain, Brad Masters. Assistant coach, Paul Batman. 33, Sid Masters, I guess.
Although it hasn't yielded much in the way of premierships, it's been a very successful amalgamation. No one thought it would last anywhere near as long as it has now, like 30 years later now. So
Zane's having a bit of an impact around the ground. Another
TD
cut
again.
off from Tom Dave. That's the second time he's done that this quarter.
And finds Jimmy Hanneman in the forward pocket. Looks up for Sid and lace out.
He was in front. Sid, you can't let him in front. You got to be standing on the side of him.
Yeah, he just held his space nicely there, didn't he?
So
Sid lining up now. Comes in. Yeah.
Too easy. Never in doubt.
No, did not overkick that one, just beautifully steered that one through.
The state country full forward. Played very well over in West Australia apparently.
Yeah, kicked 3, I believe, 3-2. Got the best players.
Oh, and each time someone wrote a poem. 'Twas the night before finals when through every house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. So it goes on that vein all around it, but it tells you about they carried their load with great skill down the field. Peter topped off his day with a goal-kicking shield. Goals didn't come easy. Here's where SO1 takes a bow when he slipped round that sideline and showed us all how. Then big-hearted Mick, with a will of his own, played fullback with such power, leaving no ball to roam.